Renee Bays,
Rakim, John,
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 Renee Bays.
Welcome to Podcast of Color, where four embittered gays come together and just drag on about whatever's going on
Four
around
what?
this crazy-ass world.
Embittered gays.
Is that a JK?
That's going on my Twitter
Podcast
profile.
of... Can I intro the show? Okay.
No.
Welcome to Podcast of Color, where four trash bags of color come together to make some sense of the world. I'm Bass.
Okay. Hi, Bass.
And who are y'all?
Who is
Wow,
you, Chiron?
I'm
Renee.
Who is you, Chiron? Who am I? That's one secret I'll never tell. XOXO, Gossip Girl.
You won't tell who you are, but you will talk about being... You know what? Never mind.
I'll talk about whatever I want to talk about.
No, it's okay. I was going to reference something last week that you didn't want to. Hi, everybody. I'm Rakim. How are y'all? Hope you're well.
Hi everyone, I'm John, and welcome to episode 20 Sexy.
Oh, you a smart bitch.
20 Sexy, we're here, we made it.
Have you been thinking about that since last week?
I'm actually 20 sexy.
I've been thinking about that all day.
Okay, and the last one?
Renee?
Oh, okay. Hi, it's me, Renee. I'm the last one, and this is my podcast.
I like how I created a script for us, and y'all couldn't stick to the damn script. How long and drawn out was this? It could have been, hi, I'm Bass. Hi, I'm Rakim. Hi, I'm John.
I
Hi,
said
I'm Renee.
if y'all would go back and listen, you can hear me introducing myself really quickly. But
Anyway, so this week we have a special guest, the fifth trash bag for this week, Mr. Mark Oshiro, author of the recently announced Anger is a Gift.
I believe in my contract phase, I said that you couldn't do any shitty accents on the podcast when I was a guest.
I'm breaking the
Oh,
contract.
God. Okay. All right.
So,
Hi, trash bags.
Hi.
hi.
You want to come
Hi.
closer to the mic so everyone can hear you?
Wow.
Come
Wow.
on
Okay.
closer.
No, I mean...
Also, I miss all of you, and it's so wonderful to see your faces and hear your voices.
Baze actually shifted his camera so we can't see you talk right now. It's just...
I noticed that.
First of all, Mark was the one who moved it. I haven't touched this thing.
Okay, sure.
There we
So-
go.
Oh, there he is.
How long until the couple bickers on the podcast?
You just look. This is a professional
just-
setting. We're not a couple. We're just coworkers right now.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Wow. Okay.
Yikes.
So I believe Renee has a question for us.
yes. The question of color this week is going to be, what is your guilty pleasure? And since Mark, you're my guilty pleasure, you can go first.
Wow.
Oh.
But you shouldn't feel guilty or any shame for all of the pleasure
No
I
Mark
provide you.
shaming
This
on
was
this
a
podcast.
terrible answer. My guilty pleasure is going to be Law and Order Special Victims Unit.
Yes.
Oh shit, that is actually like
Because they have some trash-ass episodes on that show. But I remember very distinctly when they first added it to Netflix streaming, and I watched 10 seasons in about 2 weeks. And then I didn't leave my house because I constantly thought I was going to be assaulted. It was terrible. It was
Wait a minute.
not a
Wait,
good,
it's on Netflix?
not a good
Did
look.
y'all hear about?
What's that?
It's on Netflix?
Did y'all hear?
Okay, I mean, literally, when it was on Netflix in like 2009, like when streaming was very first thing, they added it. It was like a huge deal that all the Law and Order shows got added to Netflix. So I was like, oh, I've only seen a few SVU. I'm going to watch all of them. And I would literally go to work, come home, watch it till like 3 or 4 in the morning, and then wake up at 7 and to get ready for work and watch an episode while I was getting ready, and then go to work and then come. It was a bad dark time in my life.
Were we gonna ask Renee?
So did y'all hear about the woman that got basically that was getting she was part of a stick up, or she was being sticked up? I don't know how to say that. She was basically going to be robbed on a bar, and somebody passed her a note and said don't make any movements, blah blah blah. Just pass me back your wallet. There's a gun pointed at you, and no one will get hurt if you give me your wallet or whatever. And she faked a seizure so that she would get everybody's attention. And apparently it was a move that she learned on Law and Order. And me and Sean were like cackling at how Caucasian the whole thing was. Like, it was just like...
That's amazing.
It's a fucking genius move.
I feel inspired. I've done nothing. I have used no such knowledge of my watch of Special Victims Unit to ever help my life at all.
I just really want like a long leather coat like Olivia Benson has.
Oh.
And a bang. Like she always just kills her bangs.
Like Beyonce Michelle bangs, or
The
like
fashion bang?
No.
Bang.
Like,
Like
she had like the
turf bangs?
side bang.
It's
You know what I mean? She always like
bangs.
flips it to the side. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Continue. Who else has a guilty pleasure?
I'll go next.
That they want to share.
Mine, okay, I don't know. I'm just obsessed with like lore stuff in general. So like when
I thought you said Lord.
well, her too, but she's not a guilty
Yeah.
pleasure. Like when I get into something, like I research the hell out of it. So like with Game of Thrones, for example, like I have to pretend to know things that I do know. I have to pretend to not know things that I actually do know sometimes, so I don't come off as like being like really crazy. Like when people will be like, or like when it comes to Beyonce, they'll be like, oh, like how much, I don't know, like I know that 4 sold 310,000 copies in the first week, but like I don't usually say that because people are like, you're pretty crazy. Or when I'm watching anime stuff and I get really into it, like I spend hours like watching like the videos about like the backstory and stuff like that, and like and whatever. So like I know a lot of different things that like you guys might not know that I know, or I'm pretty sure I've like faked and said I didn't know something to all 4 of you before that I actually do know, because I didn't want to come off as like a fanatic.
That makes me think of this Tumblr post, and it was like, I say IDK a lot, but I be knowing.
Yeah.
Wait,
That's
so
real.
Rakeem's guilty pleasure is being a giant fucking nerd?
Yes.
Oh.
What? Moving on.
That's
What?
Nothing.
Bitch, you are our guest. The fuck?
Oh, you're a guest in this house.
just be aware.
You can't drag me.
Just saying.
John, go next.
That's great.
John, go off, John.
Get oof.
My
go.
guilty pleasure is coming back on Thursday, and I'm kind of embarrassed that I'm admitting this on air, but I really like Will and Grace. Oh, I know. That's the face I was.
But
gonna,
haven't you said
I'm
you liked them
sorry.
before? Like, didn't you go on this whole thing?
Right? They're really like that show is really problematic,
Face.
but I'm gonna watch it.
Look at you supporting problematic television.
Whatever. You
What?
support Chick-fil-A, babe.
No, but okay, but
Uh-oh.
And you know
Ah!
what? And I don't. And I stand by that decision.
Well,
because Chick-fil-A Polynesian sauce is that bitch. It will always be that bitch.
doesn't the sauce say Blue Lives Matter? When you get the sauce?
You know what?
Oh my god!
Are you saying that to a black person?
uh-oh.
Oh, because Latinos aren't shot by police either.
Huh?
Because Latinos aren't shot by police
that's
either.
a play on Black Lives
Because I didn't
Matter.
witness my family
So-
members being dragged around by police officers.
Wow,
That-
do you see how dark?
Hello,
this
darkness,
is?
my old
I love-
friend.
I was just trying. I just came out to have a good time.
I love how before this we were like, let's make sure the question at the beginning is light and fanciful, and we've already like 5 minutes in. It's like some deep shit. I love it.
Okay.
Anyway,
John,
so
I
Renee's
mean, you
still
just
in
did
there,
yours.
right?
Renee,
No,
what's
Renee.
your guilty pleasure?
what's yours?
I said it. Mine is Mark. Mark and Bass.
Might
Mine is
never
couple.
be coming up with no real answer.
No,
Him and that
mine is,
NDA, he can't even.
Probably.
He can't even answer like what his guilty pleasure is.
I want to say. I mean, I want to say one, but then I'm just gonna be dragged, so I'm just gonna say another one.
Is it Azalea Banks? Because that's fine.
Is it really guilty,
Listen,
though?
I've
Like-
actually been re-listening to Azalea Banks, like her first, Broke with Expensive Taste, and it's really good.
It's such. Yeah, I mean,
It's so good. Like you know what it is? I think just House is like, because I'm gonna age myself, but I was around when like House was like kind of a thing. I was like still alive. I mean, I was very small, but I like saw it like do things for people,
Mm-hmm.
and so like I just like I have a big soft spot for House.
And see,
obviously for Aziz. Go ahead.
John,
was
did you
just
just
gonna
pick
say,
up
I
your
hate-
earphone?
No.
and see,
Because I was talking about Zila Banks.
here's the thing. I actually hate House, but
what?
Really?
What?
How are you gay?
I'm black. So anyway, I actually hate House. What?
I'm so mad.
But Azalea has made Azalea is probably the reason I got into like more House house-ish type
Right.
music.
House
What's up,
adjacent.
Mark?
Yeah.
What we got to say?
I believe that the history of house is very intricately tied to both the black and gay communities and the.
Well, that's not a part of my black experience.
Okay, that's
So,
fine. Okay,
thank you.
Well, yeah,
But
Azealia Banks, but I was
Polynesian
gonna say
sauce from
Kylie
Chick-fil-A is-
Minogue.
It sure is. You said Kylie Minogue?
That's not a guilty pleasure.
Is Kylie
shouldn't
Minogue?
be
Kylie
guilty.
Minogue does not count as a. I hate that we're saying Kylie
She's
Minogue,
just
by the
so
way.
kind of like she's so like I don't know like just there's something so like white about her that it's just very guilty. But it's amazing. I mean, it's
But
amazing,
she-
but she's like
Her
so
pop
incredibly
music
white.
transcends the white. I can't even.
But
say
she
that
was
seriously.
Cammy.
She transcends her race.
Oh, she's transracial.
She
They
transcends-
always say that
the
for-
music is
they
so
always
good,
say
it
that for people of
transcends
color
race.
when they like them. So they're like, so that's what I say for white people now. She transcends her race.
I hate you.
She doesn't belong to the white community. She belongs to the world.
Oh God. Bye.
My guilty pleasure is shit. I don't know.
Is shit?
No,
Rusty Pipes.
no.
I don't know. Mark, you said you
Oh my
have
God,
it.
you have so many of them.
Oh,
Terrible, shitty, super white period dramas.
but that's not
Okay,
guilty.
I'm
You
with
Listen,
should
I
feel
love
guilty
history.
about it. I'm attempting to shame you
Okay,
as
Pride and
She's not
Prejudice is a
guilty.
masterpiece.
It
a
really
cinematic
is.
masterpiece.
Joe Wright
It's
did
great.
what?
Keira
that?
Knightley and
I
that
s-
chick.
Hold
Keira
on.
Knight-
Hold
what?
on.
What?
I said shitty.
Okay,
super
what
white
counts
period.
as shitty? To
All
you?
those terrible things that have ruined my next
you don't
fix
even know.
recommendations because you watch them and now Netflix is like, do you want to see Slave Plantation 1875 or something?
Oh
Like,
my God.
That is-
Oh my
That is
god.
even-
No,
He'd be
okay,
watching
so
Due
this
North
morning
from
when I-
Insecure.
we hold on. We just whatever that so I just got the new Apple TV as a gift to myself for my book announcement, and I had to reconnect Netflix this morning to do my job, and the first row of like recommendations after like things you watched recently was like Southern Plantation romance stories, and I was like,
I don't know. First
what
of all,
the
I don't know
hell?
where that came from because I really don't get into like slaves falling in love with their masters. So that must have been. I don't know what the hell that was.
That
Maybe
was
you
not
was
me.
watching that.
I only watched
Maybe you was getting into your race play thing.
Oh no.
See, now when you do
Hold on, I know
clownery-
what your other guilty pleasure is though.
What is my other
Slaves
guilty
falling in
pleasure?
love with their master sounds like a Folsom documentary.
I know.
Oh.
Dude,
Wasn't it just Folsom Weekend?
It is.
Yeah.
Or yeah, I guess
If
it's fun.
it was.
okay,
Hold on,
if
I know-
y'all had any idea how many people of color I saw being led around by white people holding
No!
hands.
No.
I told you, San Francisco was. I can't.
I mean, I moved away. I
The
can't.
San Francisco treat.
Mm-mm.
Wait, Base's other guilty pleasure, The Sims.
I don't. That's not guilty either. I love The Sims.
I know, but it's once again,
I
I'm trying to
don't. I
make
don't
you
think
feel guilty
Bay's
for it.
experience is
Okay.
guilt, so this is not a question
Yeah,
that's
that's
formatted
this is
for.
true.
Bae.
Mark, what is your guilty pleasure?
I did it already. It's the Special Victims Unit.
Oh, you did say that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's gonna be it for the question of the color. We'll be back with
Baze needs to spit that loogie that he just formed in his mouth. And we'll be right
That
back.
wasn't an accent. That was-
Trash, 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 trash.
Let's see.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that was
Oh,
beautiful.
that was good.
Oh.
Thank
That
you.
did things to me, babe.
Mark said I don't have vocals,
Oh, that was a cute try.
Anyway, and welcome back.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
So we are back with the discourse, and
No, we're not.
No.
Jesus
I know.
Christ.
No, we're
I'm
not.
fucking with you. We're back with minutes of colors, darling.
I was testing you.
Can you please do Stitch? I was
I'm just kidding. I really was like I forgot for a second, and I just played it off.
We know.
I'm a smart bitch. But anyway,
Oh,
sorry. Jordan Peele is apparently coming up with a show about Nazi hunters. Yes. It's about people that are Nazis that have been hiding out in the 70s, and it's about Nazi hunters hunting Nazis in the 70s in America.
Shit. At first, when you said that, I thought it was like the bounty hunter, but instead of like hunting like bounty, like people are hunting like Nazis in real life, like a reality.
What about
That
a-
would be awesome.
What about a reality? What about
a reality show.
reality show called Bounty Hunties.
What would they be hunting every episode, though?
It would be hunting hunties.
Yeah, who would you be hunting down though? Like trade?
No,
like
the hunties,
or...
not the trade. You don't call it trade hunting.
Right, but what's the consequence of hunting them? Like, you hunt them down and you give them a gold star, or
I haven't thought that far yet. It just came to me.
I feel like John has some
They
ideas
just
about
become
what
part
would
of your
happen.
hunty crew.
They become one of
They
your
become one of your
hunties.
hunties.
Oh, it's like the search for your found
Yeah.
family.
But I call her my huntie
And
because
then-
I'm
and
gay
then,
and she's gay too, so we're hunties.
that is
And instead of blood in, blood
the worst
out, it's
appropriation of
fleet
any
in,
Did you
fleet
say-
out.
I've ever heard.
Fleet in, fleet out,
John!
instead of blood in, blood out.
Fleet. If you want to be a hunty, you gotta fleet in or fleet out.
And you fleet them in. You have to fleet out the hunties.
What would be like the initiation that you would do?
The
You have to
fleeing.
like. You have
Oh,
to. Is it instead? Oh, this is so terrible. But instead of like the paper bag test, it's like the fleet water test, and it has to be like a certain
No, I
level.
don't think it's like that.
Going to
Like,
hell.
okay, so like in a gang, you get jumped in, right? So like if you get fleeted in, and then your test is like doing something criminal, right? Like beating somebody up or something, right? Or like doing something. So like I don't know, what would a hunty do? Like, do you have to like I don't know, give like a makeover or something to a random stranger? Or,
You
Scam
do
someone
beat
that-
someone up,
Scam
but instead
someone.
of you beat their face.
Scam- Yes.
Beat
oh
your
yes,
face,
the beat your
yes.
face contest. The Fenty
Yes.
Beauty contest.
Oh,
Maybe-
yes. Find
maybe
your
the true
match.
friends are all the hunties we fleeted along the way.
Oh,
So, John, you
I
better
will make you
copyright this
regret
inside
me as
the
a
business.
guest by the half-hour mark.
Have y'all seen?
I was gonna
Oh,
what?
wait. Hold on. Renee said he
Oh,
wants to say
what's
something.
up?
Sorry.
No, go ahead
No,
and
no,
say
no,
it.
no.
Say
Maybe
it.
I'll say it off
Speak
there.
your truth,
Actually,
sis. Say it with your
no, no,
chest.
no, 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 no. Go. Actually, let me just ask permission first before I can say this on
Text
there.
it.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
Okay.
Okay, we'll text
anyway.
it.
oh wait, we should let our listeners know where you're at.
Girl,
Oh,
you know she
just
signed an
kidding.
NDA.
He's on the show.
Did you see
No,
that?
it's
Slight
yeah,
head
we're
turn?
I'm,
Like,
I'm, we can say that.
it was like he knew. It was like like the listeners were watching him. He was like, "Hey."
I'm in Oakland. I'm in Oakland, and I was celebrating.
Oh, so wholesome.
Where?
with a big group of POC folks. So yeah,
so-
it was fun.
Yeah. So Beyonce is going to be performing at the Hurricane Relief concert in Houston. I think it's in Houston,
Isn't
and
she?
it's going to be her first performance.
Isn't it her and Jay-Z are like making it? Isn't it her and Jay-Z are like like it's
Believe
their
so,
concert
yes.
or no?
And I'm just like jealous of whoever gets tickets. Like I feel like they're not going to get fully formed like Beyonce because she's still like I think recovering from them twins that were occupying her body for the past year. But it's still I mean
But
we saw what she
still.
did when she had them in her.
They're getting thick on say, which I wish I
Beyonce,
got
yeah.
thick on say.
Big.
But it's like, you know, when you have one baby, like I'm fully aware. I've seen the miracle of life, so like I know like what happens to your body and that kind of thing. When you have twins,
She's like, I thought there was one,
two.
miracle of life, but there's
I was like, well, there was one baby in my body,
Like-
but there was two.
like oh my god. So I don't like. What do you do? Like, do your organs just move back on their
your
own?
Organs shift.
I know, but like, do they move back on their
move back
own?
into
Like
place?
after
I don't
you,
know. I just know your body is forever changed.
like, yeah,
They're like,
that's
it's a
I
miracle.
don't know, but I mean,
Wait, do women have colons? Does Beyonce have a colon?
does John have a black eye?
Colons? Oh,
Colonce.
Not colonce.
Colonce. I'm throwing my
Okay.
mic out the window.
Anyway,
Please don't. It was a
did
lot
y'all
of
see
money.
Did y'all see the
Sorry.
Versace show?
I watched you.
Oh. oh,
Yeah, Mark
it was
watched
so
me watch it.
good.
It was actually really, really good, and I was just like, "Oh my god, this is so gaudy and so me."
Wait, Mark watched
Yeah,
you
I was
watch
leaving-
it?
We were leaving the house, and he's like, I have to put headphones in now.
Okay.
I have to watch this now, and he was.
It was really like I was not here for the music. It was like this is in honor of my brother Gianni, and he is amazing, and he loved women, and he
Wasn't-
was so powerful, and the way that he looked at the women. It was just like her talking over, and then it played over and over again. But I have to say that one, what's that blonde girl, Hadid, Gigi Hadid? I feel like her walk has improved actually.
So now it's at 40%.
But you know who can really
Also,
walk?
Isn't it?
I don't remember her name, but it's
Naomi Campbell?
Cindy Crawford's daughter. She taught her well. She can.
Oh,
walk.
she
I was
can.
Like, she is the. Yeah,
She has a
I was
killer
like,
fucking
okay,
walk.
Bringing the '90s back. So
Wait, Baze. Also, wasn't Gianni or wasn't that her husband and not her brother?
no, it was her brother. He was
Her-
gay.
Are you fucking
Yeah, Gianni
serious?
Versace is Donatella's brother.
No.
He was gay.
G-
Gianni
Gianni-
Versace was gay. Yeah,
Oh.
like,
No, he was-
y'all not
he
about
was
to argue
murdered
with me about this. I know for a fact.
Wait,
No, that's the one. Gianni was murdered by Andrew
Something.
Cunanan.
Yeah.
wait. They weren't. Are you? They were related?
Yes, they're brother and sister. Why is this
Oh,
so hard?
Donatella Versace is Gianni
Yeah,
Versace's
yes.
sister.
Oh my god! Like my whole life is a lie.
Why did you think she was famous? Or what did you think she...
I thought they were married.
Oh, he's gay.
Oh.
Oh, no,
That's-
he was
you're
gay.
so cute.
Oh.
You're so cute.
I mean, I shop at Ross.
I mean,
so
they-
don't really- I
Well, I
wouldn't-
was gonna say they are your. Never mind, let me not say that.
Versace's line
Oh,
for Ross
the-
is amazing, by the way.
Why are we gonna talk about?
Also, did you guys see the probably the most iconic moment, Versace moment, I think ever is the ALS challenge, the Ice Bucket challenge that Donatella Versace did.
Wasn't that?
Y'all didn't- okay, go home and
Oh.
Google that right after.
I thought you were gonna
this,
talk
'cause that was
about her.
amazing.
Oh, wait,
bringing
what
up
did they do?
Supermodels from the.
No. I can't. No. This cannot be explained.
I've
This
seen
is
it
the
actually. Now that I
experience.
think about it, but that was. I thought you were talking about like the show.
Oh, okay.
No, that she brought out like Naomi. She brought out Naomi Campbell and
Well.
what?
I just
She brought
Oh,
out
no,
Naomi
no.
Campbell and I don't remember the other white women's names.
Yeah.
But they weren't Christy Turlington.
So
Yeah,
or
that's
Linda
true.
Naomi
Evangelista,
Campbell.
So it was Naomi Campbell and some white
it's it's Naomi Campbell, Cindy Crawford,
Cindy Crawford,
Claudia
yes.
Schiffer,
Wait,
Helena
Claudia
Christensen,
women. Claudia Schiffer.
and Carla Bruno.
About her.
Who?
Their
Who's the
smiles
last
are
one?
beautiful.
Her name is Carla Bruni.
I don't
Bernard?
know
She was
her.
Did you
married
even
to
know
the Prime
Gianni
Minister
Versace?
of France. She was the first lady of France for a while.
Oh, wow.
I know, but that photo was like really iconic because it feels like they were all like the supremes of their time, you know.
And Naomi
they're
was
still,
in
like-
the center.
And they're still like the supremes now, like because you have all these like young models that are walking, and the very like, and then you have the
Yeah.
iconic ones just like standing there.
Yeah.
I thought that was so beautiful.
And the young models are trying to be what the
Yeah.
90s
Well, they're
supermodels
not because they
were.
don't have to be.
Right.
They just have to have a good Instagram
Iconic.
a big Instagram following.
That's really it.
Some of those walks, I was just like,
Welcome.
who let you on the stage?
Oh, also the Naomi video where she's like dying over that person trying to do that.
Oh,
walk.
Yeah.
man, that's one of my
Seen that?
favorites.
yeah,
That's also iconic too.
she's like in tears, and she's like,
I know.
Can you imagine being Naomi Campbell and then working your ass off and just seeing all the girls walking now?
Yeah.
Like, I would want to kill all those bitches. Anyway, go ahead.
She said that one.
yeah.
Wait, is that your impression?
Tiger Mandingo. I don't know if you guys heard about him. His real name is Michael Johnson. He was sentenced to 30 years because he had sex with some people and did not disclose that he was HIV positive. It got a lot of attention because it was like such a like harsh sentence for someone. But it was also like it divided a lot of people because a lot of people were like, "Oh my god!" Like is like some people were like, "Well, he deserves it because you know he should have told them that he was positive," and some people were like, "Well, like that's crazy." And obviously, like his race played a lot into this. And for me, like I kind of like. I remember when he was charged, and it was before he was even sentenced, but I kind of like tuned out because I was just like, I was like, I don't know, I was like, I don't think that I really cared at the time because I was just like, I don't like, he's like clearly someone who like is pandering to like white guys. He calls himself Tiger Mandingo, and he's like, and it showed they've had some of his partners have spoken out and done interviews, and a lot of them were white, and and that on top of the fact that like I do feel like you should disclose, I kind of just was like, okay, I zoned out because I was like, I don't want to pay attention to this, but this was prior to him being charged.
Yeah.
Now I'm just in a place like, because they said that when he was brought into the courtroom, like he was like handcuffed, like his feet were handcuffed to each other, his arms were handcuffed to each other.
Yeah.
And like it's just like he wasn't charged with a violent crime, like he, you know what I mean? So it's not like he was a threat to anybody, but clearly the treatment that he's receiving is partially HIV stigma, but it seems like largely is anti-blackness. But yeah, that's just
Right.
where I was at. I don't know what you guys thought about that.
Go ahead. I mean, John, you were gonna.
No, this is just a really hot topic for me, because this is like what I do for a living, and like having to disclose your status is kind of controversial for a lot of folks.
Yeah.
And like I'm trying. I kind of want to wait for an episode to where we have like a guest who's living with HIV, but I don't. Me personally, and I hope no one like attacks me for this, but I feel like it's no one. If you're undetectable and if you're it's really nobody's business. You don't. I feel like you don't have to disclose. But
Yeah.
I think the difference is this here with there's malicious intent. So, but that's really hard to prove.
I mean, yeah, because it
Right.
could have been malicious intent,
Well-
or it could have just been like he just didn't care and just wanted to rob people.
Yeah.
Right. And then I think in the article it said too that he was like coming on their backs and like doing things that were maybe not incredibly quote
Sometimes,
unquote
but
risky.
there were
Do you know
people
what I'm
that
saying?
he was like coming in, and like also he was fucking wrong.
Okay.
I stand on
Right.
the side where I'm just like I've always operated under the assumption like, look, if you're having sex with somebody, anybody could have anything, anybody could be lying to you. So like I think it's very important that you take your own sexual health in your own hands, and you are like protecting yourself. That being said, I still like am side-eyeing like someone who doesn't say to the person that they're having sex with, this is my status, because you know what I mean? Like I just feel like that's I don't know.
Right.
I don't think that's
Yeah.
okay.
I think that where it's weird for me a little bit is that the criminalizing of it. It's just like with sex workers, like they get harsher sentences for things if people think they know that they have HIV. If they have HIV and they're quote unquote thought of maliciously spreading it or knowingly spreading it. So a lot of sex workers don't want to get tested because they don't want to know. And so they don't get treated early enough. And so like this continues like the spread, because it's just like, okay, like if I don't know, then I won't get in trouble for this happening, like for this continuing to happen. Do you know what I'm saying? But all that's doing is the stigma is and the criminalization is like helping it spread even more.
I agree, and then
so it's kind of a complicated thing.
I agree, and then I also think too but there's also the side of like, I'm kind of in the middle of all of y'all, because I feel like there's a difference between like criminalization and then just trying to just know your status and that kind of thing. So for me, like I always have that conversation just because I would like to know, like, and I think that if you're going to be sexually active with someone or like participate in any kind of sexual act, that's a conversation that I personally like to have. Like I think, I don't know, because I don't think it's bad to be like, what's your status, and no, like, because that's important.
Right.
And I don't think that, I don't know, I don't know how to say this in a way that sounds elegant, and if you guys, I think you guys will get what I mean. It's not like, because it like it's not something that like I like want to get, but it's like not, You know, like I don't
It's
know
not
if
a
that
death
makes sense.
sentence anymore.
Right. No, I get what you're saying.
Like, you know what
like
I'm
you don't
like. It's not like
you're not buying
Yeah.
into the stigma of it.
right. Like I don't like me not wanting something does not mean that I stigmatize it. It just means that I don't want it.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean. And
Sure.
I think that that's sometimes where it gets a little confusing because it's a very like fine line, you know. But
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
it's kind of like I mean this isn't similar at all, but I guess the logic maybe like with the whole Usher thing, like I feel like it's like with that, like he was diagnosed with herpes and like he wasn't disclosing his status to partners and like spreading it to people, and that's something that you're stuck with for
Yeah.
life too. So it's like, you know, he didn't disclose or
Yeah.
you know, allegedly.
Oh.
So you know,
Thoughts, Mark?
I mean, Renee covered most of the stuff that I was going to talk about. I think what's so frustrating about how polarizing the case is that it brings up the worst in people's stigma of people who are living with HIV.
Yeah.
And it makes, because the reaction to it is a combination of misunderstanding what HIV is and how you can live with it, and then also anti-blackness. And so you have this like maelstrom of awful things that makes people have awful opinions about it. And that's why this conversation is so cool, because we're trying not to be horrible people about it. And like, I think a lot of people just have the knee-jerk reaction of, oh, he's horrible, he went out to kill
Yeah,
people,
right.
this is it, and they won't hear anything else because
Yeah.
they believe all of the myths that they've heard about HIV and how it's contracted. They believe all of the myths they've heard about the virility of black men, and so it's such a frustrating story because people don't take the time to interrogate why they're reacting to the story the way that they are.
And I think that like a lot of the so-called like, well, I don't want to say so-called, but like a lot of the people that contracted HIV from him are like playing into the, like they're very much like Taylor Swifting the whole situation. Like they're very much like acting like they're just an innocent like white little victim in this whole situation. Like they didn't seek out this guy to have sex with him and did not let him like raw them. Like you like participated in that, and like I don't want to say like yeah, that's fucked up that he didn't tell you, like he didn't disclose to you, but like you also like had the choice to use a condom and you chose not to. Or to get on PrEP. So, like, I don't know when this happened. Oh, this happened in 2015, so, yeah. Like,
yeah, this was a while
so,
ago.
Like, yeah, and PrEP was around back then. I was just like, I wasn't sure if it was around, but then I was like, it's 2015, so it's fine. But, yeah, I think that's really, too, what bothered me in this whole story is, like, they're positioning themselves as, like, completely, like they just not at fault at all for this. And it's just like, well,
Right.
that's what happened. Like, when you take the risk to have sex unprotected and off of PrEP and even on PrEP with people, you take the risk of contracting something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think if there was ever a conversation where they asked him, you know, like, what's your status, and he said negative, and then he lied, that's completely
people
different.
are lying.
But
like,
if
you don't know these people, you're meeting up with these people on Grindr and Jacked and Scruff, and you don't know them. Like, they could be telling you anything.
But that's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that's fucked up on
No, it
his
is.
part, though. Like that's
Yeah.
what I'm like. That is one thing. Like it's another thing if you just don't have the conversation. This is
Yeah.
a discussion.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
We should
so-
have we should have someone here.
I want to get through the big topics because those should be done. This whole like Trump situation, Trump called out
Who?
Kaepernick, Colin Kaepernick, whatever. Isn't it Caper? It's Keeper? I don't know. Kaepernick.
I think it's
I'm pretty sure it's
Okay,
Kaepernick.
well, called out Colin Kaepernick, called him a son of a bitch, and basically was like, anybody on that field who decides to disrespect the flag and stand up, I mean, if you guys have like internet access, I'm sure you've probably heard about this. There was a response to it. The players did kneel on Sunday in response to this. He also got into LeBron James called him a bum. A few other football players and basketball players came out and not football players, but basketball players came out. Well, maybe football players. I don't know. I don't know sports balls. Whatever. Have said things to Trump, tweeted things at Trump. interesting that, I mean, I don't really want to talk about Trump per se because he is gonna just say whatever. And, like, this is, like, a weekly, daily thing with him, and I don't really think that, like, needs to be discussed at all. But, what?
Can I just jump in to, like,
What?
start a topic that's not about Trump or whatever?
Yeah.
The thing that's, like, so striking to me is that, I've been doing activism and protesting since I was a teenager. And
Sorry, Mark, come like a little bit closer. I don't know, the mic's weird.
I think it's
Sorry.
pointed at... Okay. Is that better? Okay.
Bet-
It's because it's
much
pointed
better.
at base.
Yes.
Everything's always pointed at base. I was saying... I was saying that the my immediate reaction to it is the frustration I have with the behavior of people who are reacting to the protesting, because and I've been doing it since I was a teenager, and you always hear the same thing, which is I wish the protesting you were doing wasn't so invasive or disruptive or annoying, and people who have been protesting police brutality for many, many years have been told constantly you need to do things that are all of these things that, by the way, go completely countered with the whole point of protesting. And here's someone who has devised a way of protest that literally affects no one, that does not actually, it doesn't inconvenience anyone. It's not annoying anyone. It's not any of those sort of things. And it's still unacceptable.
Right.
And seeing the reaction of all these just awful people online and all the pundits or whatnot who are just complaining about, like, how dare you do this protest? It's like you've shifted the goalpost so many times that there's nothing left. There's nothing. Oh, I feel really excited about using goalposts in a sports metaphor. I feel so masked. It's great. It's great.
But it really goes to show, like, it's not the protesting that you're really against per se. It's just like the issue in general. Yeah. Because if it was the issue that you were in agreement with, you wouldn't mind. Like, you don't mind, like, white supremacists coming onto, like, people's campuses and speaking about that.
It's how dare
like,
you make me think about this.
But this is... Right.
No, I was going to say what Mark was saying is really spot on, because they're asked to do something more peacefully, and that you're right. Like, all he's literally doing is putting his knee down, inconveniencing no one else.
Right.
And then it's really funny because I don't personally watch sports, but I have a lot of friends who do, and I found out about it because all my friends are posting it on their Instagram and blah blah blah. And there's this hashtag where it's just like, I just want to watch my football. And I'm like, your reaction was that it's inconveniencing your entertainment. Like, I really want to just immediately unfollow everyone who has put that hashtag on there. Because I'm like, it's almost like when people were mad about the whole, like, when the freeways are being shut down. Like, you're being inconvenienced because you're like 10 minutes late to wherever you're going. But there's like what they're trying to bring to attention here to surface is that, like, real people are dying, and you're mad about a football game. Yeah, people are dying, Kim.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is just kind of like kind of what you were saying, Renee. I think the thing is, the issue is the protest. I don't think that they want black people to be protesting. Like, period. They don't want because, again, like, they didn't say anything when the Miss Texas was talking about what she was talking about at the Miss Universe pageant. It's not the protesting that's the issue. It's who's doing the protesting that's the issue. Because because he even tweeted today, like, oh, well, locking arms isn't a problem, whatever, but kneeling is, or whatever. But also, Tim Tebow knelt once before, like, and no one said anything. Like, it's who's doing the protesting. They want, the black players to go on there, throw the ball, run into the goalpost, and make the touchdowns and get the points and make them money and shut up. And that's really it. And it's kind of just like how, how, like, the children of the forest made the White Walkers, and then, like, now the White Walkers are out of control. Like, that's kind of what the white people feel like. Like, they feel like, that the black players are out of control and they can't control them.
Like, I don't think this is... So one thing that I think is really funny is actually the way that, like, people are like, oh, you're disrespecting the flag, and...
Not this act.
Tammy Faye, they out there disrespecting that there flag. And it's just
Tammy Faye.
Susie Q. I don't know.
That was close to...
That's like Tina Faye.
I'm proud of you.
Anyway, they're just... like they're trying to say like it's a flag, but I think the flag is a stand-in for white supremacy, and I feel like what they really like are against is that somebody is acknowledging, not only acknowledging, but calling out white supremacy in the police force. And so what they can't, say that out loud because, these are the white people that don't want to say that. They don't want to say, I'm standing for white supremacy. They want to say, well, you're disrespecting my flag. When in reality, they feel disrespected. Right. How dare these uppity Negro... how dare these ungrateful, rich athletes who we freed them from slavery and gave them money. We pay their salaries. How dare they come back and bite Massa's hand? And I think that's really what it comes down to. Do you know... It's like...
it's actually funny that you said that, because do you know who Joe Walsh is?
Yes, unfortunately.
Okay, because he tweeted when Stevie Wonder was doing, when he was saying something during, I forgot if it was some kind of concert, and he said, take a knee, Joe Walsh tweeted, Stevie Wonder takes a knee for an anthem during a concert, another ungrateful black multimillionaire. So I saw a thing
on Twitter that was like, ungrateful is the new uppity. Like, it's their new, like, white people keep trying to come up with these dog whistles that, like, they think we're too stupid to, like, pick up on. Like, we know exactly what, just go ahead and say it out loud. Like, because you keep coming up with these little, like, what's his name? I think his name, it's not Ethan Hawke. Who's Ethan Hawke? There's a football player named something Hawk.
Ethan Hawke is
Tom Brady?
It's something Hawk, and I don't even remember what
now
team
I'm imagining
he plays for.
Ethan Hawke as
the Seahawks.
I don't even remember what team he plays for, but he came out and was like, he made this whole big ass statement and ended it with like, if you don't think this is the greatest country on the planet, then why are you here? And it's just that entitlement. It's that, like, and it's funny because they're like, we're ungrateful and we're entitled, but like, you're ungrateful and you're entitled. Like, we built this country, so you need to bow down, not us. We built this country with our literal bodies. Like, check the history. Like, there are literal bodies underneath buildings in New York City. So, like, don't sit up here and be like, get out of the country if you don't think this is the greatest country in the world. First of all, for you to be great, it's not like you can't just be great, right? You gotta do things to make yourself great, and then you have to upkeep. You can't just coast on like what already happened. And even then, like, that was some fucked up shit that already happened. Like, the only reason we're the greatest country in the world, quote unquote, which we're really not in education, healthcare, and I mean Graham Cassidy bill, but that's another subject entirely. Sorry. Go ahead, Ricky. What were you gonna say?
And on top of that, white people's definition of great is not accurate. So it's like
not a fact.
It's not like what me and Baze and Renee and John and Mark have to do to be considered great is not what, Fannie... What did you say? I was going to say Fannie Mae.
Say Fannie Mae.
Susie Q.
Tammy Faye.
Tammy Faye. It's not what she has to do or whatever, I don't know, like Billy Bob has to do to be great.
Mackenzie Lynn.
All he has to do is show up.
Mackenzie Lynn.
Oh my God.
Iggy Azalea.
Never mind. So it's like not what it's not like what they have to do to be great is show up. What we have to do is be great and excel beyond even what they thought was possible.
And then when you do, there's a reason why you got that great. Because then when you got the job, it was because of affirmative action. When you got into the college, it was because of affirmative action. Nothing is due to your actual earning it. It's because you're always regarded with suspicion whether you fail or succeed in this country.
Right.
So,
and not only that, then they changed the rules so that you can't be great again. Like, it's just like you can't win.
That's the thing is, like, white supremacy exists and it's supposed to be this invisible thing that we don't acknowledge. It's why white people are considered normal. They're the standard. It's why black movies or black books or like black music is
subgenres.
It's a subgenre. It's not like the whole thing. Like, if you go to Barnes and Nobles, there's a black section, there's an LGBTQ section. There's no white section, there's no heterosexual section, you know what I mean? Because those are quote unquote normal. And so a lot of white people are shook right now because acknowledging that means that they gotta they have to acknowledge. If we acknowledge it, they gotta acknowledge it. And what's his name? Joe Popovich or something? Wait, real quick, I just want to shout out Shannon Sharp because he just read every motherfucking body. He was like, y'all protesting, but what y'all protesting for? Because a lot of these people didn't give a fuck last week But now that Trump has called out the NFL, now a lot of people are bending the knee. And he called out Ray Kuhn Lewis, who was saying that he was instrumental in making sure that, I don't forgot what team it was, I don't know, but whatever team he is in charge of or whatever, he was instrumental in making sure that they did not hire Kaepernick. And now here he is on his damn knees, eyes closed, acting like he's down for the cause, like he's here for the culture.
But what was so great about that video, he was just like, what are y'all protesting? Because you clearly weren't protesting the police brutality, so like, what are you protesting? And I thought that was a really powerful comment, because what are they protesting? Like, they're just protesting, like, Trump trying to tell them what to do? Like, I don't
Also,
even
just
know,
shout out to Greg Popovich, who's like this old-ass white man. I'm not sure what you do. You just came up on my Twitter feed, but he broke down white privilege for white people, and that's what that's what we need more of. We need more white people speaking out and talking about white privilege, because white people don't listen when we talk about it. Accomplices, no more. As Miss Renee, the elusive chanteuse, has said, no more allies, just accomplices.
Yes.
Accomplice on a grande.
Accomplice on a grande.
Is this every week we're just going to have to find a new name for her? Okay.
We don't really have to go into this, but I was just going to say that the Steelers stayed off of the field instead of coming out and bending the knee, because the coach decided he wanted to keep them out of it, which to me was like a cop-out. But
one quick thing, Baze, I wanted to mention too. What was her name last week? We talked about Jamil Hill. Is that what it was pronounced? She was saying how like the WNBA has been doing this and no one's been noticing.
Today, I mean, like today, I don't know, I don't remember. Yesterday, the Sparks walked out before the national anthem even played at the end of the game. So
Yes.
But that's what that's always been what it is. Like, black women have always been down for the cause, and black men have always been down for money. So,
oh God, it's too early for this.
I'm just saying, like that. I mean, and to be honest with you, gay and straight, black men have always been down more. Black men have always had more loyalty to money, to fame, to white acceptance than to the betterment of the people in our race. And so, like, it's always been black women. It's always been black women. Black men have just been the figureheads. Anyway.
I can see a few people listening to the show right now that heard what you just said and was like, oh, so that.
A couple of odd niggas talking about, what?
Like, what? Me?
Yeah, niggas, I've been drinking the gay water.
Uh-oh. Ew.
Is that just called... oh, never mind.
So, Twitter.
Gatorade?
There's
Fleet
been
in,
like
fleet
this
out.
thing on Twitter. Well, it's not a thing, but like I obviously it's been a thing. But I was on Twitter and there was like this gay guy with this white muscular gay dude, and he had like a picture with him and his boyfriend. And in the picture he was like, he said, it's something about like, this shirt makes me look fat, not the burrito I'm eating or something. I don't know. I don't remember the specifics of it. But that happened, and he was like basically saying that he looks fat, but he was like muscular. And then last week, Austin, I think his name is Austin. He's from the A-List. He was the white gay that was like getting into it with the Brazilian gay over the other white gay. I don't know. Anyway, he was on the A-List, which was about like New York A-List gays or whatever, and he posted a picture last week, and it was like him shirtless with his friend, and he's like, I don't know, I don't remember what the picture was of, but it was him shirtless, and he was like, something like no abs, no
bulging arms,
no
huge pecs,
just I retweeted it, but it all came down to, I accept my body. And it was just like, girl, like, you literally have, like, I can see your abs. They're just, like, not as defined. Like, if you just didn't drink water tomorrow, like, you would be good. Like, it was just,
and then other people were retweeting his other selfies, and he has huge bulging biceps, but he was like...
workout videos.
Yeah, and so everything about him is what is considered the standard for most gay communities. He looked like he'd fit in anywhere, like...
He looks like he's on fire. Okay, I have it. It says, "This is my body. No six-pack, no bulging biceps, and a little chubby. But in caps, I love my body. Don't like it. Unfollow. Fuck the haters. Hashtag
What
happy."
haters? Who is hating on him?
Like,
Who?
sis.
This is exactly
Because his body's so
let me tell you,
unconventional.
this is what
like,
actually happens when you only hang out with other gays that have 6% body fat. When y'all all look like this one type of way, he might actually think that he's fat. He might think he's chubby because the other guys that he hangs out with are like 0% body fat. And that's what happens when you only hang out with people like that, because your mind gets warped about what's normal and what's not.
I don't like hanging out with people like that because I'm always worried I'm
He
going
really-
to sit on one of them and murder them. I just don't do it. It's just shit, too much.
he really thought that he really
I
thought he
would
was
just
taking like
sit
a
on
big
them.
political.
Oh, of
A big,
course
like,
he did.
political
Body
thing.
positive.
Like he really thought, like he was like, oh my god, I'm breaking the barriers. I'm like breaking down the walls of like unconventional.
Shut up,
beauty.
John.
Like,
Reminds me of that-
everyone,
I need to
like-
do a collab with Amber Rose's Slut Walk.
It reminds me of that Twitter thing where the guy was like, no gender roles, and he was just wearing a Forever
I hate
21
you,
shirt.
Raquel.
Remember that
It
one?
was like wearing like a small and like it showed like his like pelvic bone a little bit. He was like,
Oh,
fuck
yeah.
gender roles.
Oh.
Yeah. It just
It takes a special kind of dumbass to fat shame while you're trying to be body
Right,
positive. And
right,
congratulations,
right.
like, you're it. Like on top of that, and I've said this before. Even if you are, I really fucking hate the stigma around being
Thank
fat.
you.
Like, stop fucking fat. Because I think the conversation that's not being had is, well, you don't look fat, you don't look this. Even if he does, so the fuck
Exactly.
what?
Yeah.
Like, who cares? Like,
Yeah.
like that's the issue. I'm so sick of hearing people say that, and then they go, well, it's for your health. It's for your health. As I see people on BuzzFeed talking about putting, 2 slabs of butter and then putting cinnamon and shit and eating like ice cream donut sandwiches or whatever. Like, you don't give 2 fucks about people's health. You just hate fat people. Just admit it and move the fuck on. Like, go away. Like, it's so annoying.
so moving on. So I hate to do this because I like have to do a light dragging and a congratulating at the same time. But Cardi B hit number one today, and it was really great. I'm like really happy that she made it to number
Yes.
one finally.
We stand legends.
Unseated the snake.
Is number
on
one
Billboard.
the wonton soup?
Oh,
so-
yeah.
It's the one on top of the letter F, John.
I'd like
So,
to have the number one.
Yesterday or the day before, girl, my memory is just not there. She
We know.
referred to Kim Jong Un as wonton soup. And then when she was called out for it, actually mostly by black people, she responded with "Y'all are too sensitive" and like retweeting other people who are like basically saying that people need to get over it because jokes. And she was like, "Y'all need to go like hang out with like." Y'all need to go look at Dave Chappelle or something, like as if that meant something, as if Dave Chappelle doesn't have like some weird obsession with transgender women. But
Just about to say.
whatever. Anyway, it just is like, girl, just no, just accept when people call you out, just accept it and move on. Like you could have literally just said, I'm sorry, and like moved on.
There was a fan that I think one of the fans she retweeted was like, Cardi, like, I bought your song 3 times on iTunes, and like I was trying to help you, and now you're like cussing at me. And Cardi B was like, oh fuck you, you're being too sensitive, and she
Yeah.
like blocked her. I
Oh
was like, man, that was really sad. Like that's a real
Wow.
fan just like
Yeah.
trying to talk to you.
And then like here I am,
Right.
like I'm like bumping that new song that she has with G-Eazy because I was listening to the read and like they had talked about it. And I'm just like, yeah. And then I go on Twitter and I have to see that. And I'm just like, girl, why can't you just let me stand in peace? Like, what she needs is, first of all, she needs a PR person because I don't think she has one.
Media
And she needs
training.
some media
like,
training.
now.
Yeah.
And she just needs to not be racist and say weird things about Asian people.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing that she needs is
She needs the
to
Matthew
not-
Knowles School of Media Training.
But yeah, like because it's not even just this. I think there's like some other things that
Beyonce's
she
dead.
does that like
Oh.
I think aren't gonna be great for her long term. Like the way that she behaves. I think sometimes like her brand is her being real and being herself. And I think that like long term though, like some of the ways that I see her like in interviews, I think sometimes like it might be a bit much, which is great for now because we love her and she's new. But like I think long term it's gonna be like, girl, like get your act together.
Right.
So she needs to.
I think she needs to hire people that are going to expand on her moment, like her 15, and then make it longer. Like she needs to get people that she needs to have a plan,
And she needs to start apologizing and not being so defensive. When people call you out, a lot of times they are fans. A lot of times people are just like, girl, like, just stop being like weird about this.
Right.
And what's crazy is she
Right.
has apologized before, which is why I'm a little bit like confused
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
the fact that she got so annoyed by
Because she was like,
this.
well, people call
the
me
only-
Platano. I don't know. Platano. And because I'm half Dominican, and it's just like, well, okay, then they shouldn't be doing that either. Like, that's not a
Either,
good
right.
thing.
Right.
But yeah, anyway,
Right.
Azalea decided to make her entrance.
Okay.
Her entrance to the mess, because she sees some mess and here she coming running. I just picture her with like a ball gown, like pulling it up and just running towards the mess, because that is literally Azalea Banks. So Azalea, another person that is just so problematic, and like I love her music too, but like, girl, just so Azalea came out and was just basically saying that Cardi is getting props because she was on Love and Hip Hop. And the only reason she's number one right now is because she was on Love and Hip Hop. Also because she's light skinned, because she's Latina, because black men like love like light skinned girls. And the thing about it is like she's not totally wrong. Like Cardi probably would not be as attractive or entertaining to people if she was darker skinned. And like even Kodak Black, who's like a horrible person, has said like, "Oh yeah, like I can't fuck with dark skinned bitches. Like I need like a Cardi or a."
I think Cardi she's acknowledged her light skin.
No, yeah, but I mean, but she still like benefits from it. So like Azalea is not like wrong, but the thing about Azalea is that like she's frequently not totally wrong, but she couches it in like complete wrongness, and so it's just like,
yeah,
girl. Like, I want to, like, when she was saying a lot of the stuff that she was saying about white gays, it was like, yeah, girl, like, I'm with you. But then she was like, faggots this. And, like, I personally was not offended by it, but, like, a lot of people were, and it was valid. And so it was just like, it's like, and then the stuff she said about Zayn, it's just like I don't know if she had a point there, but most of the time she actually has a good point, but there's always some other part of it that just, like, turns you off. And so she said that, and then it was just, for me, it was like the fact that she waited until the day that Cardi went number one. Like, it was just like, you didn't have any of these problems any time before this. You just had the problem the day she went number one. And then she's like, well, they need to, and she's like on Twitter, like, they need to be paying attention to me. I have way more talent. I'm way more talented than she is. And it's just like, girl, it's just looking thirsty.
And she was calling Cardi B stupid. She's like, she's not intelligent like me, blah, blah, like,
about
stuff
the
like
way
that.
she talks.
Jealousy is the ugliest trait. Well, no, it's. I mean, it's not. There's racism and stuff,
but it's up there.
Understood. Yes, this is true.
It's up there. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just like, oh, Azalea, just put out music and stop tweeting, please.
Or just stop both.
but she's actually good at one.
Whatever.
She's just not a great tweeter.
Oh, Renee, I did listen to the last song that she put out. I forgot to tell you. It was like, but it was her.
Which one?
It was her singing, so I didn't listen to all of it. So I said, okay.
Oh, which one? Which song was it?
I literally can't tell you. I would search it, but I want my phone to work.
You're wow. Well, anyway, so yeah, I think y'all know I love her. Y'all know I love Azalea. But yeah, just like I think that she brings up a lot of good points. I mean, apart from like the classism and like, oh, she's obviously stupid, she's a dunce or whatever. Apart from that, like a lot of the points she brings up are correct, but yeah, like the way that she goes about it. Like the problem that she had with Zayn was that he takes a lot from black culture. Oh, and that he was being like, he wasn't really crediting. Like when they were like, how come your album cover looks just like Lil Wayne's? And he's like, no, it doesn't. Blah, blah, blah. This is my culture. And blah, blah. You know what I'm saying?
What is your
and
culture?
So she came for him because she's like, there's all these like non-black folks capitalizing off of black culture, and they won't at the very least give credit. And so that's why she was like, it was a dumbass fucking shit like thing to say, but like she was like, let me say this thing so that you could feel that you're also like, even if you're like non-black POC, like a lot of white folks see you in this way, and let me like call you a thing that white folks would probably call you if they saw you on the street.
Yes.
Which is so stupid. Like, it's a stupid way to go about it.
She
But, like, the point that she was trying to make ultimately was just like,
she
it's like you could make so many good points and you can really like start all these conversations. It's just like the way that you happen to go about it, it just like fucks up the whole thing.
I mean, we really could have if she just put it all in the song minus
she
the
took
slurs.
Beyonce's things.
Minus the slurs, if she just put it all in the song,
Right.
she could really like be that girl. Like, to be honest, like
Right.
the thing is, people say all kinds of fucked up shit in music. And if she really had said half of the shit that she said on Twitter, if she said it in music, nobody would have cared. Most people would not have cared.
Thank you for saying that. Because, like, instead of talking, why weren't you in the studio? Why weren't you being busy?
Make a diss track to Cardi. At least then it's like you showcasing your talent. But it's like, if you're always Twitter fingers with the Twitter fingers, then people are going to associate you with Twitter fingers. They're going to be like, oh, there goes Azalea Banks, the dramatic queen of, Twitter warrior dumb or whatever. I don't know.
And the difference here is that there were people, a.k.a. Sky Jackson, with better Twitter fingers, whereas they couldn't beat you in a rap. So, in a rap, like, you know what I mean?
I don't know if she's going to recover from that.
It's just like, yes.
I haven't.
Like, getting dragged by a Disney star on Twitter, like,
it's just like, she needs to be in her arena. And she's playing in other arenas she's not successful at it. So it's just like,
what do you do successfully?
Music when she does it.
Quickly. When she does it, yeah.
Oh, Renee, the song is called Escapades.
Oh, it's a decent song. She has better stuff on the album.
Like heavy metal and reflective. I just be running down the street like do do do.
I literally watch the Young Rapunzel video like once a week, and it gives me goosebumps every time.
Okay, we rocked for her for 7 minutes. My skin's breaking out. We have to move on.
Is such like you can hear the influence of Little Kim. Like, she sounds like a lot like Little Kim and Ice Princess, and I really love it. Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I can hear that.
I guess let's see. Well, let's top this off with something nice.
Let's do this one.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch is getting a remake. What y'all think about that?
I think the fuck not, you
with
trick
the
ass
Witch of
bitch.
Color?
That would be cool if it was a Witch of Color. I don't know, because
it's getting to be gritty.
It's a gritty remake by the people who do Riverdale, which is the Archie remake thing that's currently on the CW. And it's like, I don't know, if y'all have ever watched a CW show, you know that there's generally great premises and usually a good first season or two, and then it just dovetails into an endless disaster.
And they always do their characters of color wrong.
Always.
They always
like
do.
That is like a staple of a CW show.
Yeah. Bonnie and Vampire Diaries. I will never forget Vampire Diaries for how they did Bonnie.
Who's cast as the witch? Lana Del Rey?
I would watch it.
I would not.
I know, I would too, to be honest with you. That. Like, if it was like Ultra Violence Lana, I'd watch it.
I need it to be Princess Nokia.
Oh, I could see Princess Nokia. I would. Oh my god, Princess Nokia.
Oh, Kristen Bell would be amazing. We love. I was gonna say we love white women. We love her.
Bruja magic.
Oh, what if they did that?
They wouldn't, but that would be so awesome. That would be smart, producers of this gritty remake. Just if you listening, by perchance,
just give us producer credit.
Bitch, if there's a producer listening, podcast at
gmail.com. Oh, I don't know if y'all care about this. Kylie might be pregnant by Travis Scott.
No one cares.
Y'all care about that?
Okay, well,
I'm just saying that she's gonna have access to a whole ass black baby. Like that poor child.
People are dying, Days.
That whole family is such
days.
a mess.
I do like the memes that are coming out. I do like the memes because people are like, Kylie, like, because you know how, like,
tread lightly.
Mom, Kris Jenner like, plans everything. And people are saying that, like, because ever since, like, Fenty Beauty came out, like, people are forgetting about Kylie. So they're like, hurry up and get pregnant or something, like, do something
crazy like bring a child into this world.
So the answer is to have a baby?
That'll really shake them up.
Oh, God.
That is the Chris. Oh, you shaking the table.
I mean, if you think about it, that's exactly what happened in Chicago.
Oh,
she like fakes her pregnancy, and she's like, "Oh, I'm pregnant. Like, remember me? Like, oh, girl, you're so Renee Zellweger right now."
The Kardashian story
was as interesting as Chicago. Oh my god!
If only.
Velma Kelly.
Okay, don't drag me, but I was going to say for my guilty pleasure that it used to be keeping up with the Kardashians because
that is a guilty pleasure.
I used to I used to
I've
love
only
that
seen,
show.
Like
Like,
whole
guilty,
episodes
yeah.
ever, and I didn't get it. I don't get that style of
I-
reality television. Like, it doesn't. I
Yeah.
don't. I think I just missed like being on that not bandwagon, but that bus. Like, if that bus showed up at the terminal, I was like, I don't understand, and it left without me, and I'm never
It's-
going to get it for the rest of my life.
Their product placement is so obvious to me. Like, it's not subtle at all. Like, they'll be like, I bought this new thing from
Looks at the screen.
Like, and it's like, you obviously just got paid for that. Yeah,
Looks
exactly.
at
is
this-
product
looks at the camera
placement
like The
ever
Office.
subtle
Yeah.
though? Like, anyway. Okay, what's next?
I guess we could cover. The Real Housewives of Atlanta, which is the only reality show that I watch, is the trailer. The full trailer was released, and I'm excited. Nene is a horrible person, but I'm excited to see her back on TV.
Oh, and wait, Homegirl isn't on this season. It looks like,
Phaedra,
right? She's not in.
Phaedra's
the
not on
previews?
the Phaedra's not on the show, but there's like some of
Phaedra's
her
in the
fans
show.
are saying that they think she's gonna show up like as a friend of the show, which should be interesting because
She is fan.
yeah, she does actually. Unfortunately, some people are fans, and I don't get it. But the only person that really should have fans on that show is
Well,
Candy.
people used to be really into her before.
Oh,
Sorry,
just
go ahead.
Candy is the only one I can think of who should have fans on that show. To be honest,
Right. Yeah.
Well, Candy's the only one with actual
Yeah.
talent. Like, you know, well, I mean, to me, fans are reserved for people with talent. Like, showing up and going to get lunch does not mean that you have
Yeah.
fans. Like that. Like, I do that. Like you. Like, I mean, not
But-
everyone
and
does that. That's what I
also
meant
because
to say.
Azealia Banks
Feel
actually said
here,
this, I want to say really quickly,
here.
like, there's no way in hell that like Cardi got to number one because she was on Love and Hip Hop. Like, what other one of those women on that show or any of those shows are charting on on Billboard? Like, that doesn't
Right.
make any sense. But anyway, that's
Yeah. I think the thing with Cardi B, I'm just going to say this really quickly. I think the thing with Cardi B is that, like, we have kind of, like, I guess, a new era of celebrity where it's just, like, we can see them, like, coming up. You know what I'm saying? Like, we see them, like, we saw somebody on Instagram that was really funny and that was really charming, and then all of a sudden be on a reality show, and then all of a sudden, like, have a record. And it's just, like, you watching the person kind of have their glow up is I guess kind of inspiring, and I
Yeah.
think that's why
people
a lot of
relate
people
to her.
rallied behind Cardi B. Maybe.
Well, yeah,
Right.
because she was actually like real, and she had. I mean, well, when I first heard her mixtape, like she had talent. Like the thing is, I think if her first mixtape sucked, she wouldn't blow up. Like the reason she blew up is because of her personality or not, but because the music was there and people were interested in it. Like if Bodak Yellow was like a shit song, no one would
Yeah.
care. People like it because it's a
Right.
good song. That's all.
Well, that's all we've got for Minutes of Color. We'll be back with the discourse. See ya. Bum, 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 bum.
And we're back. And
With our bodies.
with our bodies. We're all
Our
sitting
bodies
on
are back.
chairs with our bodies.
So if you are a new listener, Rakeem loves saying body and
Body.
British accent.
It's not body, it's body.
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 I was listening to last week's episode and you were like, my ear on my body.
So stupid.
You were like coming up with every way possible to use the word body in a
Because it
sentence,
just
even if
sounds
made
so
no
good
sense.
to the ear. It's like self ASMR.
You need to
Oh,
just go to
God.
the UK and just have a guy whisper body in your ear over and over again.
Body,
Did you see that one of our British listeners tweeted at us and was like, we want to start a UK version? I was like,
The show's copyrighted. What do you?
You like
See you
fly
in
us to
court,
Britain,
Taylor
and
Swift.
We'll do it there.
So the discourse, as always, is actually an interview with our guest. So Mark Oshiro of Mark Does Stuff doer of stuff, writer of Anger is a Gift. Come on, House of
Did you-
Oshiro.
No, this is your joke.
Rest of
Finish
his
it.
name.
You got it.
No.
We support you.
Did y'all know that Bay's nickname is Stuff?
I'm the stuff in Mark Does Stuff.
Oh, that was really cute.
Isn't that really romantic?
It was my
Adopt
joke and he
me.
stole it, but it's okay.
I made that joke first,
When
But actually,
like a year and a half ago at a convention.
I made it on a panel.
Okay,
Anyway, at one of those conventions that we go
Sure,
to so
whatever.
often.
Hi, friends.
Hi.
You're going to interview me in that voice the entire time?
So Mark
No,
Oshiro.
God,
no, I won't do it in that. Mark
No, not that one either.
Oshiro. You're a star, Mark.
You guys, does the affection in their voice make you guys uncomfortable too, or is it just me because I'm damaged?
It's your
I
bitter.
like
Oh,
it.
okay.
That's fair.
Is your body damaged?
My body is
Are you bodily
Are you
damaged
bitter?
or emotionally?
Are
Should
you
fight
bitter?
that.
Are you?
I'm like love, mutual respect. What it
In front of
means.
my salad?
Yeah, what's that?
So Mark,
positivity.
Yes.
You started off with Mark Does Stuff, right?
Yes.
Tell us about how did you get started with? So you have a site, and
I
what
have
do you
2
do on
sites.
this site? Okay, what do you do on these sites?
So for the last 8 years of my life, I have been reviewing books and television shows, which is not exactly a unique thing. There's lots of people who review books and TV shows all the time. My whole twist on it is that I'm not allowed to research anything that I read or watch, and then I also make white people really, really uncomfortable about everything that they love, which is, as all of you know, a great joy in life. It is.
We
And they're
welcome
receptive.
that
A lot
on
of your
Podcast
a lot of your
Color.
fan base is white, and a lot of them are receptive to. No, would you not say?
I'm making a face while he's saying all of this. I think the people who have stuck with me the last 8 years are receptive. It's very interesting because one of the moments of them not being receptive is actually a major inspiration for the book that I wrote. So it's funny that you're asking that because I'm like, in my head, I'm like, well, the whole reason I'm on the show is because of a response to people being absolutely horrible to me. So, I mean, it depends. Nerd communities like to think that they are the exception to the rule and that they're very accepting and that they're just above all of that stuff, but they often are the most insidious groups of white people. So it's a challenge sometimes,
Like
especially
an
if I'm
thing.
watching something people like,
Him and
and I'm
Baze
like,
be
hey,
using big
I was
words.
gonna say that.
what's that?
It's because we read books, sis.
I do sometimes. I
Well,
read the
The
Bible.
lemonade booklet does not count.
I
Oh,
was gonna say
okay,
yes,
never
it
mind.
I was gonna say that nerds are often sometimes like, do you feel like they're worse because they're like, I'm oppressed because I like dragon dungeons or whatever. What is that?
I like Dragon. And
We are oppressed, okay?
But are you white?
On paper.
What is it? Dragon? What is it? called?
Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons.
I
Our
love
community
playing
is oppressed.
Dragons and Dungeon.
It was hilarious.
I love Star Treks.
Star Treks.
Oh
I
my
love
God.
Star Treks.
Well, go ahead. Sorry,
I don't know
sorry.
that I necessarily think that they're worse because if you're thinking of like a spectrum of white people, I'm gonna put Trump voters and the KKK is the worst. I don't think nerds by default are the worst.
Wait, but can't they correlate?
There's a Venn diagram that's almost a circle here.
Intersectionality.
But no, I mean, you're talking about this exceptional behavior where they believe that because they were bullied as nerds, that they understand everything else. So therefore, if they're not offended by racism, homophobia, transphobia, and whatnot, then it's you being extra sensitive. And so I run up to this and I mean, you've literally watched me run up against this system that they believe in at conventions and stuff, where people believe that there's no way that they can be doing any sort of toxic, horrible behavior because no one's ever said anything to them. So, I mean, sometimes it depends.
Okay. Well, but so how did you get started with Mark Does Stuff?
I was living in Los Angeles, and I basically.
Oh, you're not here anymore. Fuck.
What's that?
You said I was living in Los Angeles, and I was gonna say, but you're still. And then I was like, oh, you moved.
Wow.
And now I'm sad.
Well, when this happened, it was before I even moved to the Bay Area. So this was like my original period in Los Angeles, not the 2 years that I was there, the last couple years. And I was working for a media corporation called BuzzNet, and I was their community manager, and I ran their website, and it was a pretty cool job. And that's where my whole online journalism, social activism thing really got started, because while I was running this website, they were kind of like, you can write about whatever you want. And so I would write about politics and music and television and books and stuff like that. And the short version of the story is that I got sent to Comic-Con in 2009. But the stipulation was they would send me there and they would pay for the whole trip. But I had to go cover the Twilight panel. And this is when Twilight was first getting started. And I was like, this is garbage. I don't want anything to do with this. And I ended up not doing what I was assigned. And instead, that was the first year that people camped out on the lawn of the convention center in San Diego in order to get into the big Hall H that holds like 11,000 people. And I did a story about those people because I thought they were way more interesting than, what are their names?
Stephanie
Patterson
Meyer.
Robert Pattinson.
and the girl Kristen Stewart, who I find interesting now, but at the time I didn't.
Yeah.
And when I got back from San Diego, my editor loved the story, and he just made this offhand comment of like, "Oh, I think it'd be really funny if you read Twilight and wrote about it because you're not like the intended demographic." And I was like, "Fuck you, that's a terrible idea." And it got stuck in my head, and so I made this joke blog that I passed around the office, and then the entire internet found it. And so for the last 8 years, I've been doing Mark Reads, which is my book website. And
Mark Reads,
Watches,
Hunty.
Mark,
You should add that, Hunty.
I want you to know that when, like, because of, I would largely credit with RuPaul's Drag Race. Once Read became a slang term that was acknowledged by the general public, I had a lot of people show up to Mark Reads thinking that all I did was just read and drag.
Yeah.
And they would come via search terms like, "Oh, gay man reading," or someone or whatever like that. And then they'd end up and they're like, "Why are you just?" Technically I read books because a lot of times I criticize these white authors who don't know what the fuck they're doing. But so that was a very confusing period.
Fundamental. Wait, so people showed up thinking like for lessons on how to read people? Is that like what
you know how sometimes watching a good read can be very entertaining?
Yeah.
It was more of that. But then they would show up and most of my website is text with all my essays that I'm writing. And I got lucky that a lot of people stayed because they're like, "Wow, you read the fuck out of J.K. Rowling. That was great. That was awesome." So, it ended up working in my favor.
So you were introduced to the con world and the nerd world after you started Mark?
Yeah, it was, in 2011 I got invited to a Harry Potter convention in Orlando, Florida. And that was my first convention as like a writer person thing. But kind of just, I haven't stopped. I've been going mostly to support myself and to promote myself, but it's like a necessary thing if you're going to make it in the, in the industry, I guess. And it's worked in my favor now because I actually got a book deal because of going to conventions, and I got an agent because of going to conventions. So it was a lot of hard work and money.
Yeah.
See, now when you don't do clownery, the clown does not come bite to back.
I said that to Mark the other day.
Oh.
He got so mad.
Because I don't know if y'all know this, I fucking hate clowns.
But yet went and saw it.
Saw what?
And still hated clowns.
You're stupid.
What did he see? It.
That.
Well, so, what was... Maybe we'll revisit cons, because I do want to get in... I actually want to ask you some questions about that, but...
Me too.
Let's get into Anger is a Gift.
Yes.
Your book. I guess start off with, what is it about? Pitch us.
Okay. I'm actually really, really, really proud
Mark.
of... yes, John?
Hayes wants you to pitch.
I knew. I almost said, "John, shut up." I was like, he'll be mature and he won't do it.
You should have gone.
I forget.
Baze is the stuff and the Mark does stuff, so
Yeah!
I feel like pitching is implied in that. Okay. And this is the point where my publisher drops me. Okay, no.
We'll edit.
So I'm actually really happy with my editor wrote a large portion of the summary that goes like on the inside jacket sort of thing. So it's pretty short and I'm going to read it. But 6 years ago, Moss Jeffrey's father was murdered by an Oakland police officer. Along with losing a parent, the media's vilification of his father and lack of accountability has left Moss with near debilitating panic attacks. Now in his junior year of high school, Moss and his fellow classmates find themselves increasingly treated like criminals in their own school. New rules, random locker searches, constant intimidation, and Oakland Police Department officers stationed in their halls. Despite their youth, the students decide to organize and push back against the administration. When tensions hit a fever pitch and tragedy strikes, Moss must face a difficult choice. Give in to fear and hate, or realize that anger can actually be a gift.
Oh.
So
I got chills the first time I read that.
Do any of you guys have any questions that you want to ask?
I do, but they're con related. But I do want to ask this one thing really quick, and I'll let y'all go. But I love the title because I think a lot of times people look at anger as like a negative thing, and it's something that's kind of like frowned upon. So I guess like what I don't know how to phrase this. I guess it's not even really a question. I just want to say that I'm really happy that you titled the book that, because I think anger is a very valid emotion. It's a very powerful emotion, and it can be a great motivator. And it's not always this kind of like negative thing. And a lot of times, like, anger comes from a positive place. Like the reason we're angry about oppression is because we want people to be, treated fairly. Like the reason we get angry that people, are upset about Colin Kaepernick protesting is because we don't like police brutality. So anger is like a valid and like important emotion. So I just wanted to thank you for saying that. So
thank you.
Uh-huh.
It was so the title was always in the book. It's not actually the original title of the book, but there was a quote that Moss's mother said like about 2/3 of the way through the book, and it was always in there. And it's a reference to the song "Freedom" by Rage Against the Machine, which is one of my favorite songs of all time. But I loved the idea of it, that exactly what you said, that anger is always billed as this negative emotion. It has a negative connotation. And so much of what this book is a rejection of respectability politics, which is, and we were talking about this earlier, this idea that you can only protest one way, and the second you make people uncomfortable or inconvenienced, then you've gone too far. And that's the thing that Moss pushes back against until literally the last chapter, is this idea that you have to perform your activism in a specific way to placate other people, and that's the only way you're going to get what you want. And when Moss and some of the other characters tried to do that, I show the cost of what that means to placate to people. And so, I mean, my whole point in that is rejecting respectability politics and basically showing they're just bullshit. You're not going to get what you want. No one nicely, solved a revolution like that. It just doesn't happen.
You can't have never mind. I was gonna say you can't really have like a nice revolution.
Right.
You can't.
A polite revolution.
A polite revolution.
Revolutions by nature aren't nonviolent. Like they. So.
No.
So. Oh, did you have a question?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, yeah. Well, I'm gonna piggyback off of what Rakeem said, and yeah, it just seems like anger is an emotion that seems kind of like it's always like an unjustified or kind of like outrageous type of thing that like, but nobody looks at like, okay, why is that person angry? Like, like a lot of people get labeled, POC specifically, and Black people specifically get kind of named angry, but nobody says, okay, but why is that there? Like everyone just like, you're angry and that's who you are and that's it. But yeah, so I just wanted to piggyback off of Rakeem, and then I also wanted to talk about there was like a lot of shit that I recognized in this book that I could kind of recognize in myself. It's so funny because I don't know if y'all remember this, but when we first met, or one of the first times we all hung out, like you were saying some things that like kind of I recognized, and then I asked, I don't know if y'all remember, we were at dinner and I was like, hey Mark, by the way, did you ever have any negative interactions with law enforcement? And then Baze just looked at me like, oh, you have no idea what like Mark's been through or whatever. And like, yeah, even just reading this book, like reading like the first chapter, like really spoke to me, and I think would speak to a lot of POC, and this is a young adult novel, so it would speak to a lot of young POC and like the trauma that a lot of POC associate with law enforcement. And because there doesn't seem to be a lot of accountability basically. And I also wanted to talk about how that trauma can kind of seep into like every other aspect of your life. There was like some lines that like really fuck with, like I like started crying after reading like certain paragraphs in this book, because it was just like,
I want you to know I'm both like touched by that, like, because that's a really real thing, real response. But then the other part of me is like, oh, I made you cry. Fuck yes,
right.
yes. I shall eat your
well,
cheers
it's
for
yeah,
breakfast.
and it's just like especially kind of like thinking about, and I don't know if this was intentional on your part, like thinking about how trauma can seep into like how you trust or mistrust other people, and like how you view yourself, and like negative self-talk, and like whether you're deserving of good things or love and things like that. And like there was like a lot of shit that I was reading that I was like, fuck, like this was hitting me like really hard, and I was wondering if that was like an intentional connection for you that you were making.
So To describe a little bit more about like the characters who are in the book, Moss Jeffries is a young, he's a queer black teenager. He's 16 years old, a junior in high school, and his friend. He's a fairly large group of friends, and I wanted to, when I was writing this, one of the many things I was like trying to do very, very consciously was to break this stereotype that there's only one queer person or one gay person in a school.
Right.
Because you see this a lot where there's only one of us.
Yeah.
And I'm always like,
We're like the
fucking
token.
wolves. Like, we are a pack. We find each other,
Right.
and that's a thing.
Right.
And so every
I
one
love
of
the
his friends,
analogy that we are wolves.
Right?
That's so good.
because then we can also be werewolves, and werewolves are hella gay. So like, it's fucking great.
I
It's great.
love that,
Everyone wins.
Mark.
And so I was very deliberate in the construction of his friend group, which was to every one of his friends is some, letter in the LGBT spectrum. There's a couple who are both asexual, and both of them are actually would be considered biromantic. And so it was this thing of like, they all gelled as a friend group because they have this shared umbrella experience. And I also didn't want to do the thing of like, there's one of each letter and that's it. Like, because that's also not, we don't really assemble like an
Right,
alphabet
right.
and then we're done. That's
Yeah.
it. And
Well,
so-
I mean,
but-
John, with
Well-
assembling his alphabet with numbers.
He was counting it.
Is-
the
what-
letter 4.
What letter comes after 4?
R.
I was in Starbucks
Oh, wait, that is a letter.
and died when I was listening to that, John. It was so funny. It was great.
Thank you,
So
Mark.
yeah, so the stuff you're talking about, Renee, is all incredibly deliberate, and also it's terrifying publishing a book. Period. Like, it's a very scary thing to put a book out in general. There is stuff in the two main characters, Esperanza and Moss, that is super, super personal. Stuff that even in the many, many years of doing Mark Reads and Mark Watches, I would hint at certain things, but I've never talked about.
Right.
And one of them is I have very, very extreme PTSD around cops.
Right.
Back in 2008, I was assaulted on camera, and it was all over the news at the Prop 8 rallies after Prop 8 passed.
Right.
And it was a very, very public thing, and is indirectly responsible for this book existing, because in the days after it happened, all the news stories popped up, and I made the mistake of reading the comments.
That was,
And-
was that Meet in the Middle?
No, we were
What's
we were at the Mormon temple.
Yeah, it was at the
Oh,
Mormon
okay.
Temple, the one on Westwood and
Yeah,
Santa Monica.
Yeah, and it's so funny. Me
Yeah.
and Mark didn't even know each other back then.
Yeah,
But yeah,
we
we were-
didn't.
Are you
Yeah.
gonna mention the queerty comments?
Well, I mean, and that's an element of it, because one of the things I wanted to comment on is that whiteness can sort of transcend any of the other oppressions when certain things pop up. And so what was like really, really damaging to me, and if I could go back in time, like, it's one of the things I would not have read those comments because they fucked me up so much, but was reading people commenting on this video of me getting, shoved to the ground, and me and my partner at the time being just brutally assaulted on camera by the police, saying that the cops should have killed us. And reading these things of people saying, why didn't he do what he was supposed to do? Why didn't he do any of this stuff? If he had just been respectful. And the thing is the shot in these videos, and I've never watched them ever since I saw these articles. It was from a helicopter. So you couldn't even see anything that was happening.
Right.
All you just saw was me getting assaulted.
Right.
And it fucked me up for years, because knowing that there were strangers on the internet arguing about I should have died. And so that contributed to the trauma of every time I see a police officer, I would think it's going to happen again, and people are going to defend the cop without ever knowing any details at all.
Right.
People will defend my death.
Right.
And so that trauma, I like the way that you put it, because it's sort of what I was attempting to do, is that trauma obviously appears in the first chapter when Moss has a panic attack because of the cops in the station and being confronted with other protesters. But it's actually throughout the book, because he devalues himself constantly. And he constantly has to deal with this notion of, am I actually a worthy human being? And that is a very difficult thing that I've had to deal with, is, am I worthy of love? Am I worthy of partnership? Or should I have died that day, all those years ago? And like in now it seems almost like an absurd thing to talk about. Like, I love my life. I'm glad I'm alive. But like, it's like an intrusive thought that I can't control. It just pops in my head. And so when I was, when I made the decision that I was going to write this story and set it in Oakland, or specifically in West Oakland, I made a conscious decision that in order to represent this neighborhood best and this experience, Moss should be black. And if I'm going to do that, then I have to be very, very careful about how I represent his experience in the world. And through research and, my personal experience is where you get this combination of what is actually in the book, which is this idea of this kid who has the trauma related to watching his father die because he was shot by the police mistakenly, and then having to always deal with the sight of a cop, the sight of the red and white. I'm sorry, not red and white. The red and blue lights in the BART station. Like those are very real things. When I see police lights, my heart rate jumps up.
Right.
If cops walk into a restaurant that we're at, like Baze has to do you want to leave? Like he'll ask me do you want to leave? Do you want to stay here? Which is a wonderful thing, and I love that he does.
Yeah.
But that's a reality of how trauma manifests every day in my life, and I have to deal with that. And so I was like, there's got to be kids out there who are dealing with something similar to this, and I wanted to write a book for them.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful too, Mark, because you've come full circle. Because you were saying, those were things that you were saying, like, am I worthy of love? And you have it, not only just from Baze, but like from us too. Like, we all love you, and you actually went to a march with us,
I did.
Yeah.
And you did.
That was my first march in a very, very long time. We went to, it was the, John, do you remember?
It was
International Women's Day.
Yeah.
That was my third march since 2008. I went to an early Black Lives Matter one in Oakland, but had to bail after an hour because a lot of the shitty anarchists from Fremont ruined the protest. And I was like, yeah, I'm leaving. And then I went to another one in the Bay Area. But it's a thing where, like, even going to protests is incredibly difficult.
Right.
Because if I'm in the crowd, all my mind goes back to is that afternoon. And I think it's going to happen again. It's going to happen again.
Right.
And I get super paranoid. And so, there's an element of that in the book. But Moss's panic attacks and his PTSD isn't triggered by protests. It's by cops. So
Right.
that was like a thing where we differ, and we don't have the same experience. But yeah, all of you saw me at that protest. Like it was,
Yeah.
hard. Like
Yeah.
it was really hard to be there.
Right.
Yeah, we were like standing. You guys were. I think two of you guys were standing by cops, like right by the police. Because remember, it was right by the
Right.
police station.
During
Yeah.
the
One
photo.
of you was like, "Mark, come over here. Mark, come over here." And he like froze up, and I was like, "No." I was like,
That's not happening.
Don't
Abort
do
mission.
it. So one thing that I found really interesting. So initially, this was a science fiction book.
It was.
One thing that I found really interesting. So what you were trying to do, I remember you telling me, was that you were trying to confuse, not to blur the lines of what was real and what wasn't, in terms of like what the tactics and the tools and weapons, I guess, that the police were using.
Right.
And so I think that was, for me, was shocking because I went to, in high school I went to Torrance High, which is like, if y'all don't know, it's Sunnydale and
In Buffy.
and Buffy and it's West Bev in 90210. So like I lived in a very like white area and went to like a school that was like largely white and Asian. So like that whole concept of the things that you had going on there, like the idea of like metal detectors in the school was like, I could believe that they had like actual like that sounds like a movie from like the night. That sounds like Set It Off or something.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, it happens though. Yeah.
Yeah,
But it is. It's a reality for a lot of kids in our nation is that their schools are heavily militarized. So in the initial version of Anger is a Gift, it used to be called An Insidious Thing, and it was this sci-fi trilogy about, which I like the title, but I'm glad I changed it because it's less vague now. But it was originally about the militarization that's happening in schools and how police in general, and I would say the militarization of the police in general, of how they're getting all of these weapons and tanks and things that are supposed to be used in war and on terrorists and are using them on normal civilians.
Would you mind talking a little bit about like those specific things?
Yeah. Oh man, I wish I had names for all of them. they're all in my research, and they're all in the original draft.
Well, I remember there was the thing that looked like a bullhorn, I guess, that like makes people sick.
Yeah, I don't know what the name of that thing is. And I've actually had that used against me, but I mean, it's a device that
sound
causes
cannon?
nausea. It's a. So they use the sound cannon now, but there used to be one that was silent. That and it usually only affected younger people. Because as we get old,
right?
It like fucks with your ear,
Yeah.
right?
yeah, it fucks with your inner ear and it makes people dizzy and nauseous. And it has since evolved. The reason they use the sound cannons now is because too many people have used iPods and had earphones, so we fuck up our ears so early that those original cannons don't work anymore.
Wow.
Which is actually a small plot point in that stayed through all the versions in the book. But I mean, there is the Silent Guardian, which makes an appearance as well. And it's funny because I've had people in the original draft and then in the draft that Renee has, people both in publishing and then some of the beta readers that I had read it, and they were like, "Oh, where did you come up with that?" And I was like, "Oh, the Silent Guardian is a real thing." So the Silent Guardian, it can direct. I'm going to fuck this up, so don't quote me, but I believe it's electromagnetic waves, and it makes you feel like your skin is on fire. And this is a thing that they use in a lot of protests. I believe it was at the WTO protest in Seattle in 2000 or 98. Oh, I don't remember the year either off the top of my head. But those are things that are being used against protesters. And so even though the book isn't science fiction anymore, I left a lot of the science stuff in, like the metal detectors and this Silent Guardian, because it's about building this world, this very realistic world that some teenagers in the United States have to deal with. That this is their life. They come to school and they're immediately treated like criminals. So what kind of environment does that build when you distrust students right off the bat? Mm-hmm. How are they going to react to things? How are they going to be able to focus when they're at school? We were, my campus when I went to Norte Vista High School in shitty ass fucking Riverside. Yay, Inland Empire, John. Yay. But we were allowed, the Riverside Police Department had an officer stationed on campus and was allowed to act as a disciplinary arm. So sometimes when kids were punished, they wouldn't get detention, they wouldn't get after school, they would be arrested and go to juvenile hall. And so that is a whole fucking huge mess too, because that's how the prison to pipeline thing exists, is that instead of, and of course, which kids are the ones who get confronted by the police? It was all the black and brown kids. The white kids, they'd misbehave and they'd get sent to the office or they'd get sent on timeout or whatever bullshit. And so you have these existing biases in place. Then you add the police to it, and it only exacerbates it and makes it worse. So, I mean, that's a lot of what Moss and his friends have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And so the book is about the escalation of what happens when they're like, "This is enough. You have gone too far. This isn't a school anymore. It feels like a prison." And the book is really about that turning point for Moss and him realizing, like, I can do something. There's something I can do to change this environment.
Yeah. Sorry, that's the people in the hallway. Another question that I had was, Esperanza is Latina, and she's a transracial adoptee. Mm-hmm. How much of, because you have her with these white parents and you have a white mother, and she's been affected by them, but she seems to be at least aware enough to know, like, that they're on some bullshit. So,
yeah.
Like, how much of that was, like, influenced by, your upbringing?
Some. Esperanza's construction was very difficult. She's always been his best friend in every draft of the book. But it was only through my editor that I really realized what I'd been struggling with the entire time. Because in every draft of the book, the conflict between Moss and Esperanza was her not really getting why Moss cares as much as he does. And that she's a very good friend and she understands his panic attacks and can navigate that stuff really well. And I realized it was because I was struggling with this idea that non-black POC that we still fuck up. And I was trying to figure out how to put that on the page. And so she has some similarity to me in that she is also, I'm a Latinx transracial adoptee. My twin brother and I are we have a very complicated identity, but our father was from Mexico, but is actually Guatemalan and El Salvadorian, and it's all mixed up and messed up, and adoption makes it a lot harder. But I love I don't see very many adoptees in fiction, period. So I was like, that is an interesting angle that I can have here. But the thing with Esperanza is, despite that she would be, by any measure of it, considered pretty woke, I wanted to talk about that spot, the blinders that a person can have. And so Esperanza's experience is that she grew up in, you'll know this, Renee, Piedmont. Okay, so everyone lives in West Oakland, but she's in Piedmont. And Piedmont is in between Oakland and Berkeley. And it is, how would you describe Piedmont, Renee? It's a...
dude, I'm like never ever there, so I really don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a good description, because why would you ever go there? It sounds about white. I mean,
Mark reads.
It's
Oh.
It is a very affluent neighborhood nestled in between Berkeley and Oakland, and it's full of people who like to say they live in Oakland to other people for like street cred, but then never actually go out into Oakland either. They just stay in Piedmont and whatnot. So she has this experience where, even though, you know, she's Latina and she speaks Spanish and she's been allowed to explore her identity through that, she still has two white upper middle class parents who are both academics, and so even though she understands most things and she understands how systemic racism works, her spot that she doesn't get is really the respectability politics part, which is as the novel goes, she keeps pushing back as not understanding why it is that Moss and his friends are affected by things differently than she is. And so she has a lot of little moments where she just, you know, and where Moss is just like, I'm going to have to talk about it to her. Talk to her about that later, which I'm sure all of us have had in some manifestation.
We've had that with each other. I've had to say things to you. You've had to say things to me. Like, hey, that wasn't cool.
Yeah. And so it's really what Esperanza is the acknowledgement that not everyone in the struggle understands everyone's struggle. Even though she is non-white, even though she's a lesbian, even though that these are like very important parts of her identity and inform her experience, there's still a part that she's never experienced herself, which is this vilification by the police. And she doesn't she only understands like a surface level thing, and once things start getting more and more tense and more terrible, there a little, I don't know, schism starts to form. And so I don't know, it's wait, what were you gonna ask?
Oh, I was just gonna say, so like, how much did you feel like there was that thing that you had to overcome because of your upbringing?
Oh boy.
Yikes.
Now I see where this is headed.
Bitch, let me tell you.
This is Baze Reads.
I mean, yeah. I think that's why it was always so hard for me to write. Because writing it is the acknowledgement that I was raised to be anti-black. And it's especially if you're an activist, especially if you consider yourself as someone who's into social justice, it's sometimes harder for us than people who aren't into it to deal with these like prejudices that we have, because you think you're one of the good ones, and you think that your proximity to people of different groups exonerates the things that you've done, and that I've had lots of I've had lots of black friends my whole life. That doesn't mean that then excuses everything that comes after it. So I think that's why, and my editor, who is white, could tell that I was like getting close to it, but never. And so in the draft, and actually it's not even in the draft you read, Renee, but in the newest draft, I fucking went hard. Okay. I went in hard on Esperanza, and it hurt to write, but it's more of a truth than half-assing it.
Sure.
And you know, I mean, so the thing Baze is referring to is that, you know, I was raised by a white mother, and my adoptive father was Japanese Hawaiian. And my mom was raised as a fairly strict white supremacist. And I don't mean like a racist, like literally white supremacist. Yeah. So, I mean, even though as kids, my brother and I fought against a lot of that stuff because we knew it was bullshit, there's still shit that when you're young just gets put in your head. Yeah. And it takes years to undo that stuff.
Yeah.
I have a quick...
Go
ahead.
Really quickly, is I want to say, Mark, I appreciate that, because I did... When you first are introduced to the whole friend group, like, you do feel like the sense of community that you kind of create when you first find your chosen family. Like, it was like big, kind of like harmonious, like everybody has each other's back. Like, even though everybody is marginalized in a different way, like ultimately, like everyone loves each other and like everyone is there for each other. And I was worried for a bit while I was reading. I was like, I hope we get to a point where like someone has a misstep, because that happens. Like, even though I have friends of all backgrounds or whatever, and then like, or you know, like different types of marginalizations, like I fuck up. And like I was hoping, like I was hoping, like I think that there is a need for a positive, positive like kind of depiction of friends from like all different backgrounds, but there is also the need to like call out that like sometimes even your really good friends can misstep and can fuck up.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that, and I just want to say that.
Well, I have a question, but
Yes.
mine is more so like a bigger question. So before I do, John,
Okay.
did you have any specific questions that you wanted to ask? I wanted to ask Mark about like the thing that happened. So before I do that,
I wanted to ask, why was it so important for you to make these characters queer? And while constructing these characters, were you afraid of any pushback from like your editor to like, you know, because we don't hear a lot of queer stories, and I'm afraid that like a lot of it is like, is this gonna sell? Is this gonna is this gonna like push away like your male demographic, your cis male white demographic? Like, were those things that you were thinking about when making them queer?
I mean, you think about them in the periphery when I was creating the initial story, and then even through before I ever had an agent or an editor, it was sort of that thing of, well, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. And if I get to a point where I get an agent, and I mean, I was thinking when I get to queering agents, it's, you know, the sample stuff that I send to them, I'm going to make it very clear that these characters are non-white and that none of them are straight. I'm not saying that there are no straight people in the novel. If only. Just kidding. Whoops.
oh well.
An insidious thing, heterosexuality.
Womp womp. No. It was sort of like a fear in the back of my mind because I'd heard so many horror stories from friends who have published books, who've been in the publishing industry. I think that's one of the reasons it took so long. I started writing this book in September of 2012. It took a long time to get to this point. Part of it was I had started searching agents out in 2015, and it took me a year and a half to find the right one. And my agent, Dongwon Song, was one of the reasons I was so stoked to work with him. Is there was never any question about, oh, I think you need to change the sexuality of these characters. I think you need to change the race of these characters. I think you need to tone down the politics of this manuscript. That was never, ever on the table. And it's why I adored him so much, is that his question was always, how can I represent this best to other people? And the same thing is when he put it on to submission in January of this year, he sent it to as many queer editors as he could find, as many, non-white editors. And I mean, there was a time for a couple weeks when I was getting rejections from publishers that it was rough. Not only because getting rejected sucks, but because some of the messages we were getting back were very disturbing. People saying that the book was too commercial, which is the weirdest rejection I think I've ever heard of. Like, what, it's going to sell well? Okay, what is the problem with that? Which I assume is just a bullshit reason because they just didn't want to do anything with it. To people saying, I don't know. Ooh, I don't know how
messy do I want to be?
Yeah, I'm like, how messy do I want to... I mean, basically people giving fairly racist bullshit excuses for not wanting to publish the book. And, there's that whole quota thing of, like, there can only be one. And I believe there was one of the rejections was like, oh, we're publishing a book similar. And it turned out that they weren't at all. It just happened to have another non-white character. And it's like, it's not even about the same thing. Like, and so publishing is very white, very straight, very cis. So, I mean, it was always a fear, but at the end of the day, I went with an agent and an editor who never questioned any of those things, because I had always set out to write a young adult novel that was for me when I was a teenager. Right. Like, I wanted to write the book that I could read and that would validate my anger, that would validate how I felt. So, like, for example, one of the things I actually did that was very deliberate was there's no coming out story in this book. And while I appreciate YA books about coming out, and I think they're still important and we need them, I love David Levin's books, and I would never say that we shouldn't have them. I wanted to skip over that, and that's a big reason why I said it in the Bay Area, because I've met so many teenagers who can be out, and it's not necessarily the same issue as when I was a teenager, and I was in the closet because I didn't want to die. Getting dark there for a moment, but and
hey,
so
Renee.
that was the thing, is I wanted to. What's that?
No, nothing. Just go ahead.
I wanted to, write, dating, and I wanted to write, queer friendships without the stigma of. It's not that homophobia doesn't play a part in the book; it does in a small way, but getting to skip over that so that there is that positive representation while still dealing with like really serious issues, I guess.
Well, Mark,
you had a question?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, babe.
No, I was saying you had a question.
Yeah,
was
well,
gonna-
I think it's. Oh, were you talking to me or Renee?
Can I just tack onto this, or is this going to be about
Yeah,
about
no,
the
go
con-
ahead, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, yeah, I just appreciate that you stuck with your guns with this, because, like, or stuck with your gut, brother, because I just thought about, like, if we had this around when we were kids, like, how helpful this would be.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm glad.
Because a lot of the stuff that we had as kids was actually straight people that we projected onto.
Right.
And we drifted to Disney villains because they were very flamboyant and we could
Right.
recognize some part of ourselves
Right.
in them. Or we drifted, I found that I drifted to a lot of women characters.
Right.
And then I could relate to them because I was a highly emotional kid who was like 5 seconds from crying at any given point.
Right.
And I was, I don't consider myself terribly feminine now, but, in Riverside in the 90s, like I was considered extremely gay.
Right.
And I, because the little hand motions, because I also used to have a lisp when I was younger.
Yeah.
So it was like, that was a death sentence. Like you were just, and
Right.
so,
And we're
Yeah.
we're
Accurate.
giving like John shit for like being really into Will and Grace, but it's just like anything that had like any kind of representation we were like clinging to, because like
Yeah.
at that time, what could I find about like a little like flamboyant Latinx kid that like had like personal trauma, and then trauma with law enforcement? Like I found no kind of media that tacked onto like all
nothing.
those things at one time. Like absolutely not. So like I think this
I
is
remember,
incredibly
what was
important.
that show, with Jared Leto and
My So-Called Life.
My So-Called Life?
Right.
Ricky
right.
was like huge.
Right.
Like that was like a huge thing.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, Rakeem.
Yeah, so Rakeem.
Oh
you had a
no,
question?
sorry. No, so I mean, my question is kind of about like nerd culture in general. So I think it's really
Yeah.
that we were talking about kind of maybe writing characters to get published and whatnot, because I was wondering in like the wake of this whole PewDiePie thing, because I feel like me and you were pretty like immersed in like nerd culture, and we were both consider ourselves nerds and whatnot. And so like in the wake of all this PewDiePie stuff and like seeing people say, well, it's like free speech and like you're censoring him, like what are your what are your thoughts on like I don't want to say oppression, because I feel like that's too strong of a word, but you know what I mean, like the issues like in the gaming community or like in the nerd community when it comes to that, and then how you kind of feel about censorship, and like was that something that you experienced as well?
I've been a community manager since I was like 18, 19 years old. I was running like online forums for bands when I was very young. So I've seen all kinds of, I have horror stories that one day I will regale all of you with because they're great. Which includes the story of how I found out one girl who was bullying a bunch of people was actually her mom the whole time. That was a real fun story. It's the greatest story. I'll tell it later.
On Patreon.
So here's the thing, is that argument of the whole free speech censorship thing, I've been seeing it online since I was a teenager, which is, especially because I was moderator on all these forums, if you deleted someone's post, it was censorship, and then you were denying someone's First Amendment rights. So just on a very baseline level, anyone who uses the First Amendment rights thing, unless they're talking about a government entity literally censoring them from being able to do anything at all, shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. You're wrong. Just wrong, 100% wrong. You're not allowed to use that phrase ever again. That's censorship. Like if I was actually able to go into someone's house and physically prevent them from saying things. And so, thank you, Ricky.
You're welcome.
I used to have a website called Mark Plays. And for a while, there was a third entity of the Mark Does Stuff in a universe in which I would And this was before like Twitch and all the streaming things that are huge now were super, super big. Which isn't to say I was like a progenitor to all this stuff or that I started it. I just was like, oh, I'm starting to see people record themselves while they play video games. I think maybe I'll do that and then write little reviews that go with it. It lasted 6 months because I basically got run off the internet and doxxed by pre-Gamergate trolls. And it was awful. Like, men in these communities were so mean and gross and invasive and terrible to me that I had no fun running this website. So when the whole Gamergate thing started up, not only did I recognize a bunch of the names, but I was just like, this has been going on for years. This is not a new thing. And men on the internet specifically, or generally speaking, straight white cis men on the internet have hated anyone else being part of nerd culture for a long time. This is not a new phenomenon, you know? And so it's just,
Can you explain what Gamergate is?
Oh, man. Gamergate was a giant trash fire. Someone's laughing. I heard that. A giant trash fire of a mess in which a bunch of fucking butthurt dudes were trying to, talk about ethics in gaming journalism, and instead just used it all as a front to harass initially a lot of women. My friend Zoe was sort of at the center of all of it. Everyone go buy Crash Override, by the way. Zoe Quinn's new book. It's phenomenal. Go get it. It's awesome. And it spiraled into this horrible movement of whiny man babies who can't handle anyone else having an opinion, who cry about censorship, but then do things like swap people's houses when someone disagrees with them. Like, they're literally doing the things that they're projecting onto other people, and it's just
Is this a play on Watergate?
That's the thing, is they likened this whole thing to this huge conspiracy that they uncovered, that all of these women and social justice warriors were actually, I don't have the rest of the conspiracy because there's actually nothing there, but they just believed that this whole thing is just for all of us to support each other's games and make a bunch of money, and we don't actually care about games at all. We're just using it to make money and
social justice warriors.
and just ruin people's lives. And granted, this is a very gross simplification of the whole thing. The Gamergate lasted for a very long time, and in some ways is still going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, they tried to make it sound like they were like, it's sort of like the Tea Party. They tried to make themselves sound important, like they knew what they were talking about, but they actually completely misunderstand history, so they named themselves terribly.
So my question, next question is to make this just a little bit happier.
Yes.
Just add a little bit of light to this.
To my body.
To my body.
And we can start
To my body.
To my
So tell us a little bit more about this gay romance, because we don't get a lot of that.
Yes.
We forget that this book is actually a romance. Well, I mean, it's a lot of things, but it's a romance as well.
It's the book tracks Moss really seriously dating for the first time and navigating what that means. I'm in great debt to my editor, Miriam Weinberg, because when she got the manuscript, the version that Renee has, it was 106,000 words, which is really long for a young adult debut. And basically her response in her editorial letter was, can you add more? Can you add more fluffiness? Can you make it gayer?
Can you write it with
which
your
is
body?
not something can you make my body feel things? I'm so sorry, Miriam. And so I, in a lot of the original drafts, Moss and Javier, who is this guy that he ends up dating, they never met on the page. It had happened before the book started, and she was the one who convinced me, no, put it on the page. And so it's in the first chapter, them meeting, and part of the reason that they bond is they bond over biking, and Javier doesn't freak out when Moss has a panic attack. And he's kind of like, oh, that's just your thing. I support you. And Moss has this like moment where he's like, oh, he didn't run away. Oh, okay. That's kind of weird. I didn't expect that. And so from there, they go on a couple dates. There's like I had a lot of fun writing just fluff. Just like the gayest, cutest thing. But I mean, some of it touches on what Renee had brought up earlier, which is that even though a lot of it is very cute and extremely fun to write, there is still the stuff under the surface, which is Moss dealing with his trauma. You know, he has this whole moment when he's at Javier's house for the first time, meeting Javier's mother, where he's like, how do I tell them about my past? Like, at what point do you bring up, oh, by the way, my dad's dead and got shot by a cop, like, and I'm fucked up because of it? Like, that's not a thing you just bring out. And that was very much from my experience in the sense of that it's something every partner I've ever had. I have a lot of trauma from my childhood, you know, and inevitably, if it's someone you want to be with, you're going to have that conversation. And so it was navigating those two things, and I don't know, getting to write two boys kissing was pretty awesome and very meaningful. It's great.
Aww. Okay, well, I think that is about all.
I feel like we just started talking, and it's like an hour,
right?
Everyone, when this book comes out, go read it. It'll like really fuck you up in a good way.
Anger is a Gift comes out.
It comes out on May 22nd, 2018, from Torteen, which is actually like a life goal of mine, was to get published by Tor Books. And yes, I'm very excited.
Is the book
it.
available?
It's also coming out on my birthday.
Yes, Baze's birthday is the same day as the book comes out. So there's going to be apparently a book release birthday party at the same time.
Yes.
Wait, and Mark,
which Baze is very happy about it because he can steal the spotlight from me a little bit more. But yes, pre-orders are, I mean, yeah, you can find, if you go to markdostuff.com.
We'll link it.
Or I'm sorry, markoshiro.com. That is my website, and it has all of the information everywhere, and you can see the cover, which I'm very happy about. Shout out to Adam Carvalho, who is a Brazilian illustrator and artist who did this amazing cover of Moss on a bike in Oakland that I'm very, very happy with.
Look at you crediting the artist. Go off.
It's very important.
Mark, you were featured in the Pace magazine, right?
Yeah, Pace Magazine did my cover reveal and the excerpt and the publishing announcement. And
that excerpt is
which
really
is a
good.
huge deal.
That cliffhanger, I was like, wait, what happens next on the train? Like, I want to keep reading.
That's not even the end of the chapter. Ooh, I was like, that was such a smart place to end it. But
it was so good. That gay romance got me.
I just want to say
She's just here for the gay romance.
I appreciate this book a lot. It made me cry a lot. I've read the newer versions. I've actually not read the latest version, and I'm actually waiting until I can get like an actual copy. Like I want like a copy with the cover and everything, so I can read that. Yeah, just to see like a black gay teen living his life. There's the trauma, and there's the, you know, the book touches on homelessness. It touches on, you know, being a transracial adoptee. It touches on police brutality, but it also it shows, it shows that we're all people at the end of the day, and that we're not just activists, or we're not just angry, and we're not, you know what I mean? Like,
it shows the humanity as well.
Our trauma does not define us, and it shows that there are other parts of us, and I really appreciated seeing that in the book. So, you guys check out Anger is a Gift, May 22nd, 2018.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Oh, positive.
We've been trying to do this for months. We thought the book was going to be announced before we left LA.
No, me too.
Yeah,
it did not.
When it happened, I was shook. I was like, "Wait, it really for real happened?"
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Mark is that bitch.
Any last thoughts, you guys?
All right.
Oh no, okay.
No.
Yeah,
that was bad. That was like white people in church.
It's fine.
I'm gonna keep that in the show.
Like white people in church. Let's see.
Excuse me.
So,
welcome back.
Welcome back to Podcast of Color.
You have to put more cigarette in your voice.
Oh, okay. This is Male of Color. Look, I got it right today.
Congrats for doing the bare minimum.
Oh my God.
And naming the section
I
correctly.
love congratulating myself for doing the bare minimum.
So Norma Desbitch is a white woman, is what you're telling me? So now we know.
Yes, and the Taylor Swift stand.
Oh God.
Oh,
Canceled.
Look what you made me do. Look what
Oh,
you
no.
made me do. Look what
Oh,
you,
God.
look what you made me. Look what you made me.
I want all of you to know that's the most I've actually heard of that song, and it was only in that form that I heard that. So
Okay. So from Miguel, we have hi Rakeem and the Trash Bags. First, thank all
Hi.
of you again for the podcast.
Hi.
It's absolutely the highlight of my week. I loved hearing you talk about how toxic online gaming is, because despite how prevalent a topic it's become in the last few years with Gamergate and whatnot. Oh, topical. Fresh out of high school with no friends, I had to turn to strangers online for company, and making friends over Halo or Call of Duty was like shooting fish in a barrel. The bar was pretty low for everyone. This didn't last long. After a couple of years of making friends this way, I grew tired of how toxic gamers really were, and I couldn't hold it back any longer. Most of the friends I would make were white, male, and whether they were queer or not, did not hesitate to use homophobic and racist slurs pretty much whenever. I eventually came out to my group of friends, and it didn't go well, but thankfully by then I'd started trying to make friends in college. Unfortunately, most of my nerdy friends who do play video games now don't like playing online games and are wary of using voice chat or partying up for multiplayer games, and actively avoid it even. If I suggest that we only play with each other and mute... even if I suggest that we only play with each other and mute other players, I'm able to put up with a little more abuse than some other people, so I just ignore the griefing and trolling from random teammates when I play online, because I can't play single-player games forever. I'll go crazy. Online gaming isn't for everyone, so no one should be afraid of abuse when playing online. I love gaming, and I deserve to take up cyberspace. Oh, okay, sorry.
That's
I
a
got you.
pun. Bravo for the pun.
I love that, actually.
So
That's great.
Rakeem, if you like one more person who plays Overwatch, even though it's better on PC, JK, on the PS4, you can go ahead and add me. They put their thing on, and or maybe share your PSN ID with listeners. It'd be great to have a big QPOC group of people to play with. I main Reaper, May, and D.VA.
Diva?
Oh, okay. On PS4, and I suck at support, but I will play Lucio if I have to. P.S. Sort of spicy honey roast. It's been 6 years since I last spoke to you, Ryan, but shout out for being one of the least toxic persons in the Bellevue group, and for going out of your way to never say the N-word or call anyone a faggot. You still suck too, but a lot less than everyone else did, and I know you'll never hear this if they read this on the podcast. Anyway, up the bear, stay out of your trash.
Wow.
I love that.
Wow,
That's a really
that-
spicy.
Okay,
honey
we love
It also-
spicy honey roast. at
It got
this
so
podcast.
specific at the end.
Right. I was like, okay. So my PSN, I'll share it over the show, but I will say this: if you do send me a friend request, please tell me who you are, because there have been a ton of people who have added me, and I have no idea who you are, so I'm going to ignore your request. So I just need to know who you are. My PSN is Blue Keyblade 4, and to the letter, I think that's really valid. And it's something that happens all the time. I have a group of 5 friends, I think it's 5 of us, 5 or 6 of us that play Overwatch. And I'm kind of at a point now where, like, actually all of us in that group are kind of at a point where we come home and that's what we do, because life and being in this country is so exhausting. It's an escape. And so what we do is the first time that we actually played where we had like a party chat and you can hear everyone, literally the first thing we had, some guy called us faggots, like, or called me and my friend a faggot, or had said it, and we were just like, what the fuck? I have also heard on Halo and Xbox specifically, like, people, like, say nigger and that kind of thing, and I completely get that you don't want to do it, because I don't either. So we were saying what you do in the letter is we only talk to each other when we're playing the game. So usually it's enough of us that it's fine and it's like a good ass time. But yeah, I think the community is really toxic, and I think a lot of times people like to throw out the word social justice warrior to kind of like insult people who are really just sticking up for you being a dick. And what's crazy is about this, the whole thing to me is like, if those people ever have kids, but then they have to have sex with a girl for that to happen. If they ever do like have kids or and try to teach them things, like they're going to teach them the behaviors that they're not doing. They're going to say, you need to be kind to people. You need to be nice to people. And like, what's the point if you're not doing that and you're not leading it by example? But I'm sorry that you have to experience that, and I'm sorry that it's a thing that you go through, and I don't really have a solution for it because it's going to happen. Maybe what we can do is try to figure out some kind of group where we can come together as like queer POC and play, but I don't know. But I also want to say shout out for playing May because May is the baddest bitch in the game. So yeah, Mark, did you have any thoughts? Because you play Overwatch too, or
I do.
Played.
I actually tend to play because I got very similarly burned in online gaming. I actually tend to gravitate towards single player games, but Overwatch has pulled me back into competitive playing, like online. Part of it is I'm actually not a good player. I'm not great. I'm decent. I'm not super good at any video games, except for the Fallout games. For some reason, I'm really good at those. Because you can have a dog companion, and I really like dogs. Anyway, that's not important. So I've mostly gotten to the point where I just mute everyone else. The only time I don't is really kind of doing what Rakeem does, which is finding friends who are awesome. Overwatch is so ubiquitous right now. It's not actually hard for me to just go on Twitter or Facebook and just be like, I really want to play Overwatch tonight. Who's on right now? And then add people I'm like somewhat friendly with or I'm familiar with, because at least I know they meet the threshold of not calling me slurs when I fuck up, because I will fuck up because I'm not very good at Overwatch. So, I mean, I think seeking out and making your own friend groups is the solution for now. If there are any gaming companies listening, you are all terrible at moderation. And as someone who's been a community manager for many years, it is so frustrating to watch companies fuck up moderating their own communities. It is not necessarily an easy thing, but you're not even trying. So if you, I don't know, who is it, Blizzard Entertainment? Hire me as a consultant and pay me lots of money, and I'll tell you how to fix everything.
You know what's funny about Blizzard, though? They actually just released this video like last week, like this 9-minute long video about like toxicity in Overwatch and like in their gaming in general.
What?
And he was pretty much dragging like people saying that like y'all need to be fucking better. And he was saying that the reason that a lot of things haven't happened, like a lot of features in the game haven't come out yet, is because they've been working on doing like a reporting system for console. And a lot of the resources that would go to improving the game are going to report people for bad behavior.
Oh.
And he said they had reported like they've penalized like 800,000 players or something. And I'm like, that's too damn many. Like and that's actually, Overwatch is actually pretty good at with like players and them not saying things like that's one of the better games, 800,000, because it's like Overwatch is actually, I suggest it because it's fun, but it's also like a super diverse game. Like there's Asian people, there's like Middle Eastern people, there's black people, like there's LGBT representation, like there's everything in it, which is why I thought it was like really good.
That's the reason I started playing it too, because I saw something about Tracer being gay, and I was like, wait, what? The person on the cover?
Tracer can fucking choke.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
sure.
I prefer other characters, but that was the gateway for me. Was I'd never seen a game where the character on the box was like canonically gay, so I was like, wait. Okay, maybe I need to play this game. And then got lost in all of the fan art and fan fiction on Tumblr, and it's...
Renee's really good at it, too.
I'm amazing. I fucked up that wall. You saw that.
That was one of the most entertaining hours of my whole life, Renee.
That was great.
It was so good.
Oh, my God.
That Sky didn't know what was coming to. All right, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess that's going to be the show.
Baze is like, now that you're done with this nerd shit.
I'm trying to get into video games. I'm trying to make...
Well, thank you so much.
Forcing Mark to play Dragon Age 2.
Oh, I need to play
I want him
that.
to play Dragon Age Inquisition, but he refuses to play it until he's played Dragon Age 2, so... Anyway.
Well, thank you so much for being with us, Mark,
Yes.
and with blessing us with such amazing literature.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the invitation.
Wait!
Thank you.
Can we honey roast Mark?
What?
All of us?
Start. Go ahead.
Say something nice about Mark. Oh,
John,
no, are mad
you
about
just
that?
you just brought up that idea, so you go.
Oh, I'll do it.
Go.
So many.
Wow. Wow, you're trash.
Why am I trash? Okay, Mark is... I love how approachable and lovable Mark is. I think when people... like first see someone who's like masculine presenting, has a lot of tattoos. People get intimidated, but Mark is actually super nice. He's really smart. And I think he has really good taste in things.
I mean, I'm friends with all of you.
I want to say, and I've told you this, Mark, like several times, and I tell you on Twitter like once a week, but like I just respect how hard you work and how serious you are about your craft and what you do, and you don't let bullshit get in the way of you succeeding, and I think that's really impressive and really admirable, and it's something that I look up to a lot, and it's how I try to model minus some segments on this show, it's how I try to model myself.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah, and I think that it's really great that you don't allow, I guess you don't allow yourself to get bogged down, because I know your work schedule and I know like how hard it is to do what you do and to find time, just like even without writing a book, and to find time to schedule everything and not be late on things. And if you are, people don't know. And like, I just think it's really impressive on how you do that. So.
Thank you.
Mark, I'm so glad that I met such a beautiful, cuddly teddy bear.
Oh, that's
And I just
Base is looking at you like tread lightly.
Like I said with the book, like I recognize a lot of kind of the things that I've gone through in myself and you. And I'm really happy that you've overcome like a lot of like some fucked up shit and like trauma. And like have kind of really persevered, and I hope to be there one day.
Oh, I wanted to add that you are the exception to IE gays.
Oh,
that's true.
That's
and
a real
Scorpio.
compliment.
That
All
is,
of you had
yeah.
trash-ass compliments in comparison to that one. That was the best one. Thank you very much.
Okay. And that'll be the show.
Oh, wait.
Just kidding.
Like, wow.
I don't know. I compliment you every day. You're gorgeous. You're simply gorgeous.
Okay. This sounds like an insult in that accent.
I don't know. Like you're really understanding, and you're very unassuming. I like how open you are towards people, because I'm very close. I'm like very like okay. So
I think he likes how open you are.
Can we wait? Baze, can we have Baze say what he wants to say though?
yes.
Go ahead, Baze.
You know what? I'll drink to that.
Hey.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I love you. So
Oh, he's like, I love you. I don't have to say anything else. No, I'm kidding.
yeah, I don't have to.
I
say
love
anything
Gay
else 'cause I
romance
love you.
all over this podcast episode.
All this homosexuality. No, I like how brave you are. I like how I like that you don't need anybody to like light a fire under you. You just go and do things. Like if you want to go to the movies, you just go to the movies. You don't care if you're going by yourself. If you want to just like make shit happen, you'll just make it happen on your own, and you don't really need anybody to like necessarily push you or do it with you. You just do it yourself. So I admire just how independent you are.
Y'all, if y'all could see how they're looking at each other right now, like this is so magical.
shit!
If you could see our bodies,
queer
You
love
see our
of color.
bodies.
our bodies,
Our bodies.
our bodies will
My
up
body
next to
can't
each other.
relate, but it's so gorgeous. I'm so happy for you.
Oh my god.
Okay. Anyway, that's
Thank you.
gonna be the show.
Thank you for having me
All
on
right.
and for being such a wonderful friend.
Wait. We have to do all of our social media stuff. So again, if you have a honey roast or an email, you can send it to podcastofcolor@gmail.com. Again, the show is now on Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iTunes. And if you want, we would really appreciate if you can leave a comment and rate the podcast. It helps it makes it easier for people to find it, and it helps us gain. If I say clout, is that the correct usage of that word?
Sure.
Because that's your favorite
Sure,
word.
why not?
Okay. Sure. Anyway, so yeah, thank you again. We want to say thank you to Mark for coming on the show. And,
Like, subscribe,
we will see y'all.
reblog, retweet.
And we will see y'all next week.
Bye.